And a welcome here to an all new edition of Super Powered Pop. Of course, I am your host, Dan Tortora. We are inside the Parker Banner Kent and Wayne studios. Parker Banner Kent and Wayne is our comic book and gaming shop of choice on 21500 Catawba Ave, Suite A in Cornelius, North Carolina, just outside of Charlotte, one of the fastest, if not the fastest, growing city in America. So make sure you go out to Parker Banner, Kent and Wayne, PBKW for short, and let them know the DT sent you. I have the Galactus shirt on. We're coming off of the Fantastic Four First Steps, and I have my little brother Nico, who has joined me today to speak on Avengers Doomsday. I'm very excited about this. So myself and Nico got to be speaking on our thoughts for the upcoming Marvel mashup here on Super Powered Pop. You can find us on Facebook, X, and Instagram at Super Powered Pop. You can also go to wakeupcalldt.com, click on the tab Beyond Wake Up Call, and find Super Powered Pop there. And you can also search us where you are right now on our YouTube channel at Super Powered Pop. So with that being said, Lil Bro, how we doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me on.
Of course. So, first thought, when you see Avengers Doomsday, first thing on your mind, what are you thinking?
Uh, not positive thoughts. I'm very skeptical because of what happened with a lot of the previous movies and everything. Um, I don't know if I agree with spending the amount of money they did on bringing back Robert Downey Jr. Um, that could have been put towards paying the CGI artists more. Could have been put towards other actors and actresses. Um, Longer screen time. I'm not sure. I I forget the rumor of what they're paying him, but it's more than most movies.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, looking at this, and like you said, I mean, bringing back Robert Downey Jr., I think Marvel kind of understood Disney that owns Marvel Studios. I think that they understood that they've been in trouble.
Yeah,
Disney has allegedly lost in recent history around $200 billion. They have gone away from making movies about the characters, and instead they've decided to make movies that have other motives, propaganda, politicizing things, putting things into movies that really have no business with the storyline. They have completely distorted characters like Thor, brought him from being such a powerful character to kind of being somewhat of a bimbo. And so, I mean, we've seen a change in things. People want to know why Thunderbolts, aka the new Avengers, did so well. And my response to them was simple. It was one sentence. Marvel slash Disney made a movie about characters from comic books that had nothing to do with what Disney is trying to push and peddle in their current regime. That's why the movie was good, because it was just a movie. It was about the people in the movie. I think it stayed true to the characters, and it had nothing else in it. There was no selling of anything that Disney wanted to sell. There was no pushing of anything in, you know, whatever somebody's thoughts were about this or thoughts about that. It was literally a movie about characters. And Marvel, in its first 10 years, and Marvel Studios had so much success, in my opinion. And I told you this years ago. They had so much success because they built individual storylines, got you to have a connection emotionally to the characters. Then they assembled them. Then they put them back into their own storylines and they assembled them again. And as they were building this, doing this world building, they were giving you an opportunity to get to know each of these characters before they put them together. So when a character like Black Widow dies, you've been with her for years, you know who she is, you know the relationship she has, you felt something. Well, the new Marvel Studios movies have been rushing. It's like they knew how much money they made with Infinity War and Endgame, so they got to the top of the mountain and they wanted to stay at the top. And so it was like, we spend 10 years building up all these characters, put them all together, and had this giant culmination a decade in. And now we don't want to build any of these characters. Now that we know what it's like to be here, we want to stay up here. And so they're putting out all this product, putting out all these characters. We have no connection to them. We're not hearing a lot of backstory with a lot of these people. They're force feeding us characters and they're not building. And so, I mean, I'd love to get your thoughts on, is this a Marvel Studios Disney problem of we spent a decade building a wonderful serum and the serum worked, and now we don't want to spend a decade doing it. We want to do a decade in a year, a decade in a month. So is this just them saying we don't want to spend the time and we just want to keep making the money without having to put the work in again? Is this, Disney trying to force Marvel to talk about things that have nothing to do with the characters or to change the characters? What do you think the problem has been?
I think the number one issue starts with Disney Plus. I think the streaming platform is a really good way to lose money. I think they thought their catalog was so extensive that they could just put out the streaming app with everything from their Disney movies from the 1960s and earlier, even all the way till current, and it would keep people satisfied. And a couple shows here and there. I think they thought flooding their streaming service with like two to three, four shows, Marvel shows every year, three Star Wars shows. Kevin Feige spoke about how he diluted the quality by putting out all these Marvel projects. Disney higher ups also said the quality was lacking because they were pushing so much of this content.
Yeah.
I when I would end my Disney Plus subscription, every time in the comment section, it gives you a chance to write why you're suspending your subscription, and I'd always put you don't have enough content of Star Wars, you don't have enough Marvel, or you don't have. I would put that in the box, and then I would just cancel it after I watched the show I wanted. They put more out. It was just garbage, and it actually turned me away from the app completely. I only resubscribed recently to watch Andor season two, which is a Star Wars show,
Yeah.
and I actually didn't think it was amazing. I thought it was good, but I didn't think it was amazing. But more importantly, I subscribed for Hulu because they're putting out Alien Earth, which is a show that doesn't even have anything to do with Disney, but it's part of FX TV show and it's also on Hulu. I literally only have it right now for Alien Earth. I'm waiting for more episodes to come out before I start the show. It looks extremely high quality. They have the right people put in place that have, I think, the same guy who did the last Alien movie that just came out um, is helming this project, or he's part of it in some way. I think he's fantastic. I'm blanking on his name at the moment, um, but he's done a great job with Alien. They're already like hinting at crossovers between Alien and Predator again.
Yeah.
Predator's doing fantastic on Hulu. They released a really dark cartoon or animation of a Predator, like short stories. It was very, very good, especially for like animation. It's not like real live action. They also are tying that into the last Predator movie that came out that went directly to Hulu. They didn't even release that in theaters. I don't even know why, because it was one of their better projects. And if they had promoted it, it would have probably done well in the box office, but they didn't. A lot of people received it well. It was about a Native American girl. Some people thought it was woke, but I thought it was excellent. I thought it's what Predator should be. Dark, uh, a horror movie. So they're getting it right with their Alien and their Predator, but they are fumbling still with. I think they're finding their footing with Star Wars. I hope, because that's been garbage. And I actually didn't like Thunderbolts, but I think it's not because that film was bad. I thought it was going to be something it wasn't. I went to see it. It's the first Marvel movie I've seen in a long time,
Yeah.
um, especially in theaters. I still rewatch some of the old movies. I rewatch Endgame, rewatch Civil War, Black Panther 2, um, because of how good they are. But I haven't seen any new movies recently because I just think I skipped the Hulk or the Captain America versus the Hulk, whatever. I don't even know what it's called because I just skipped it. I saw the
Yeah.
trailer, I skipped it.
Well, I don't think anybody likes. Yeah. Well, I shouldn't say I don't think anybody likes. I don't think the CGI, which is crazy because you know what it takes to bring the Hulk on screen, and Eric Bana's Hulk bled because I mean the green just it bled on screen, and then you had the Edward Norton Hulk, which was just crazy, just muscle, and you could see like every piece in it. And we had the Savage Hulk, right, that raging Hulk, and then
Yeah.
we and I know you're not a fan, but we got the Mark Ruffalo Hulk, and we got Smart Hulk, who's reading a book and having tea, and we know that they have evolved in CGI, evolved in what they can do in bringing the Hulk to life. So what doesn't make sense to me, in the She-Hulk TV show, they brought in the Hulk's son, and he looked like a really bad video game of the Hulk, which makes no sense because how do you evolve from Eric Bana to Edward Norton to Mark Ruffalo's Hulk in CGI? Not evolve from the actors, because the actors are all good in their own right, but you evolve the CGI over time. So how do you evolve your CGI to make the Hulk, but then Hulk's son looked horrific? Just and I honestly think that, like, everyone, whether they like Marvel or not, they have talked about the way that his son looked as a joke. I
Yeah.
mean, it looked stupid, and it was and to show that Hulk has a son. How did they do it? They were having a family picnic, and She-Hulk, her cousin showed up, Bruce, aka Smart Hulk, right now. So Smart Hulk shows up, Professor Hulk, and he shows that he has a son, and his son walks in to sit down, and Daredevil, Charlie Cox, all Daredevil is in the She-Hulk TV show is a one night stand with She-Hulk, and he takes his boots off and walks barefoot through a neighborhood. And so they made Daredevil look like a wuss. They made him look like some throwaway guy after a bad night in a bar. And then they had ridiculously horrible CGI with Hulk's son. And so, I mean, Nico, I guess where, I mean, I thought the Falcon and the Winter Soldier was good. I thought that WandaVision was good. I mean, there's TV shows that were just unique and they were different, and I thought that those were good. I thought Falcon and the Winter Soldier, that gives you the spy element, and it lets you know that there's a bunch of super soldiers out there, the serums out there for people to take, and WandaVision just played with reality, which is what Marvel Studios has been leaning on in this new saga. So with seeing those two shows, I thought they did really well. And I thought that there were other elements in the TV shows that were good, but She-Hulk was not at all. And I was excited for that. It was bad, and but like I said, I mean, do you think, and I know you talked about them flooding, Disney Plus with, putting a lot of stuff out there, a lot of content out there, maybe not developing characters enough or explaining it, but then you also said there's a lack of certain things that you like. Do you look at this, and going back to a statement that I made here, do you think that Disney slash Marvel Studios is suffering from the fact that they're not staying true to the characters? To go back to that point, that sometimes Disney is not even sneaking anymore. They're like very deliberately making characters in movies and TV shows talk about stuff that like Disney's promoting in the real world, that they're almost like pushing and trying to like get people to follow. Like, Disney wants you to do this, Disney wants you to believe in this, Disney doesn't want you to vote this way, they want you to vote that way, they don't want you to believe in this, they want you to believe in that. Do you feel like that's hurting them?
I mean, I think that's part of it, but I think bigger, way bigger than even that is, for me and a lot of people, is the characters. We went from Iron Man, who grew like, he was never a huge character. He was like a side character. Like when Iron Man first came out in 2008 or 9, I forget which year. Like, he was not a huge character, but like the movie was fantastic. It was done well. Robert Downey Jr. literally killed the role. He was born to play that Iron Man. And then they just went on like an unprecedented tear that they may never replicate again. Chris Evans as Captain America. They did fumble with the Hulk. I think that they had a fantastic story going there. I think he was really good as the Hulk. I think they had a really good storyline. I would have loved to see Red Hulk then, not now. I don't care now, but back then, especially with Edward Norton's Hulk, I would have loved to see General Ross become the Red Hulk then. In that universe, in that darker Edward Norton, and he also got fired because he was complaining about script stuff and he was trying to give too much input, and they let him go. And I I thought he did fantastic. I really wish they had worked something out with him because he gave the character so much. It was a darker version of the character that
Yep.
I think fit the Hulk more. The angry Hulk, the menacing Hulk, the uncontrollable Hulk, versus like the weaker, more wimp, kind of pathetic version we have now. And it's we went from these characters that were either A-list, like everyone knows who Captain America is. Not as many people might have known who Iron Man is, but everyone did after those first film, after the first couple films.
Yeah.
Um, and everyone knows who the Hulk is. Like these are either A-list characters or they were built to be A-list characters. And by the end of Endgame, we lost all of the A tier um, characters, and we got replaced instead of replacing it with what they should have done, which is the X-Men, which is an A tier group, or the Fantastic Four, which is an A tier group. We got the garbage, the stuff that no one's going out to read. I don't know anyone who's like dying to read a She-Hulk comic or a Daredevil comic. Now, if it's part of a bigger storyline, that's different. If it's like you need to read it to understand. So, like the best example is like Battle World and what we're gonna see soon with Doomsday and stuff. Like that whole storyline that we're about to see on film, although they're gonna change it a lot, but that whole storyline in the comics, we saw a you had to read some She-Hulk to understand, or you had to read some Hulk or some Captain America or some Iron Man issue, whatever, X-Men issue, whatever. It all tied into this huge Beyonders, Doom's, Doctor Doom kind of final chapter reset for Marvel Comics. And it was fantastic. But you had to read these comics to understand the bigger picture, which is what they did also in these earlier phases of Marvel. You had to watch these films so that you wouldn't miss anything big. But that was easy. You'd keep up with 1 to 2 films a year. They were high quality. Even the ones that were weaker in quality, you still would see a clip of what's to come, and you would get excited. Um, and you knew what was coming with the Infinity Gauntlet and Thanos, and it was like you had to catch these films to not miss it. And they try to continue that with Disney Plus. The problem is like Disney Plus is one, not everyone has it, but two, like these shows are so some of these shows are so bad that like they've completely turned people off from watching them. Like me, I refuse to watch any, even the good ones that I've heard or like Loki and stuff. I won't watch it because WandaVision was the last one, and I don't even know when that came out. It was years ago, but that was the last show I watched. It's the last show I plan on watching, because the shows have a different format. I actually am starting to see a problem with Star Wars as well. The shows you have a lot more screen time. You have to cover you have to stretch out the storyline across 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 episodes, and it almost dilutes the story that should fit very comfortably into 2.5 hours, 3 hours at the most. You have to stretch it across 10 hours. And what I've noticed in these shows is there's a lot of downtime. There's a lot of dialogue, and that's okay. Like I watched Succession on HBO. All it is talking in boardrooms and meeting rooms. The show is fantastic. I want to watch it again. It's so good. I just finished the Gilded Age on HBO. Old money in New York City. The robber barons. The fantastic show. All they do is talk. There's no action. There's no Hulk. There's no X-Men. The dialogue is fantastic. The script is fantastic. The drama, the relationships, friendships, it all plays into this incredible show. Like Sopranos. Yeah, there's some violence and action, but a lot of it's talking and stuff. I have no problem with it, but it doesn't fit in a that well is what I'm seeing in the format of Marvel and Star Wars. Like these are space action drama shows. These are superheroes beating each other up. Like that's why people go to see these films. Like there are moments from the older films that I think hit really well, like um, Black Panther 2, where they wove in the death of a real actor into the film. I went to see it 3 times in IMAX, which is like a 20 something dollar ticket.
Yeah.
So and I spent that money. I mean, I think in New York it was like almost $30 to be honest. So I spent like 70 plus dollars to see it three times because it was so good, because they respected the actor who passed away. They wove it into the story and they made you like hurt. They made the whole audience hurt. People were crying next to me. It was painful. They also did that in Captain America Winter Soldier when he's, or I think it was, yeah, Winter Soldier, when he was getting beat to death by his best friend.
Yeah.
And he's like, he recounts a line from the first film where he's like, you know, I'm with you to the end, while he's getting his face punched in. He's willing to die so he doesn't hurt his friend. There's little moments that are woven into the old films. When Groot dies in Guardians 1, like there, that really mess with you emotionally. I haven't even seen Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I heard that was devastating. Um, and that pain people relate to, like that sadness. It's dark in a different way,
Yeah.
and it's really important because you don't just have this goofy content, this someone would say woke content. It's more, people can relate to it more. And I just, they lost their, like I said, they lost their A-list characters. They put out a streaming platform. They, what could be told in I think 3 to 4 episodes is stretched out to 10 or 8 or 9 or something, and it's bad because it's not dialogue that we would be getting from The Sopranos or we'd be getting from Boardwalk Empire or even Game of Thrones. We're getting this weird random dialogue. We're getting She-Hulk twerking in the in her office. We're getting, like, again, I haven't even watched these shows, but I've seen them online get ridiculed. We see Daredevil like doing the walk of shame after having a hookup with someone, and like, I mean, this is filler. And I noticed it a little bit on Netflix with the original Punisher and Luke Cage, and the better seasons of those shows of Daredevil and Luke Cage and or Punisher, it was less noticeable. But like Iron Fist, and I started noticing there's just a lot of dialogue that doesn't move the story forward, and it's really boring. It Because it doesn't even apply to the story. It's just dialogue to fill the episode, and that's really problematic. It's incredibly boring. People tune out. The Star Wars shows have this issue. People are in the comment section on the YouTube videos just like, it takes 3 episodes to do something that could have taken like 20 minutes if it was a film. And that's true. Like, people will meet up in the Star Wars shows that they have and talk in a room about something they're going to do, and they'll talk about doing that thing for 3 4 episodes, and then finally at the end of the season they do it, and you get this big action scene, or you get these little action scenes, you get this like intense moments, and it's like, why don't you just release 3 episode shows?
Yeah.
Make them an hour and a half each if you want, whatever. Chop them up however you need to chop them up. Do a timeline skip, so it's like 5 years later is episode 2, 2 years later is episode 3. I don't know, but like,
Yeah.
there's so many fillers, and there's cool moments in the Star Wars shows, there's cool moments in the Marvel shows, but it's lost in a sea of just endless, mindless talking and really bad dialogue.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, and you brought it up here, speaking on the fact of dialogue, right, and how important that is. That when you go and see a Transformer movie with Michael Bay, it was about the action, right? People wanted to see the action, but when you had the action and you change the characters, you and the storyline change, right? Shia LaBeouf, you believe that he was genuinely afraid of this stuff. He was nervous about this stuff. As much as he got used to it, he was met with challenges, and he responded like a typical human being would. Like, what the heck do I do? Where you got Mark Wahlberg, who is obviously a muscular guy, but he's out here, with his muscles as a human being. Like, yeah, I could take on any Transformer, any Auto. I could take on any Decepticon, and I can handle them. And so it made it less believable. And when the storyline started to fall away with Transformers, it felt like they were just making the movies for the sake of showing you action. The whole point of the world building that Marvel Studios did in the beginning, which started with Iron Man 1 in 2008, was to have these incredible scripts and to have these wonderful things that you remember, right? You don't forget when Robert Downey Jr. had his cards in front of him of what he was supposed to say. And then he looked around, put those cards down, and he said, I am Iron Man. Then they take a bunch of pictures and the screen cuts to black. Or to having those moments, like you said, I'm with you, Buck, till the end of the line. When Cap is trying to save Bucky and he loses his grip and you see Bucky, fall into the abyss, down a mountain, off this train, and you have no idea what's happened. You think he's died. Or to, the moment where we see Black Widow in Scarlett Johansson when Thanos drags her or not Black Widow, pardon me, when we see
Gamora.
when we see Gamora get dragged and thrown off the side, and then we see Black Widow and Hawkeye go here to try and get the Soul Stone now when they're trying to do the stone heist. And as they go and do this, when she decides she's going to kill herself, he decides he's going to kill himself. They're both going to take one for the team. And then she ends up going off the edge and she looks at him and says, let me go, and tells him it's okay. Those moments I can draw. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to go rewatch the movies. I remember those. I remember when Gamora says to Peter Quill, when she says to Star-Lord, I need you to kill me. If my father gets us, if he's winning, right? If we're on the wrong side of this thing and Thanos is on the right side of it, not the right side of it, but if he has the control, I need you to kill me. And then he holds his gun in front of her, and right before, and she's like, do it. And then Thanos brings her closer to the gun and says, I believe she asked you to do something. And he's like, do it. And he looks at her, and right before he does it, he says, I told you to go left. And he lets go of the gun, right? He shoots, and the bubbles come out because the reality stone's being used by Thanos. I think he said, I told you to go right. But that happens. Or the Collector being on the side going, magnificent, magnificent. Like those moments. I don't forget any of those moments. I don't forget the songs from Guardians of the Galaxy. But when you ask me about Miss Marvel, I forgot most of it. When you ask me about what I just watched with Ironheart, I forgot most of it. Outside of her sitting with Mephisto, I forgot it. When you talk with me about, what are your takeaways from Daredevil, I remember him, I remember the Punisher scenes because I love the Punisher. And I love Charlie Cox as Daredevil. But there's a lot of pieces in that I forget outside of some key moments. And I agree with you that they could have taken Daredevil and they probably could have made that 4 or 5 episodes for Born Again, just to show us that he's back. They're doing a special presentation, 1 episode for the Punisher, I guess showing how he gets out of the jail that has been set for him by the Kingpin. But the whole point, and we're both saying it, is the story building, the world building, the individual stories to get to know the characters. Because if a character dies that you don't know, who cares? If anybody died in Thunderbolts, most people are not going to react because John Walker was a Captain America that was killing people. So
I haven't seen the show, so I don't even know who half of them were. I know from the comics who they are.
Right.
But someone who did, if you didn't watch the shows and you never grew up with the comics like I did, you don't know who any of those guys are. And the Thunderbolts, again, I have to reiterate this to everyone I talk to. The Thunderbolts, at least the comic that I remember going into this when they first came out with the Thunderbolts, I went into the comic store around the time they had just dropped with you, and I'm looking at the titles of them. It's like Venom, Green Goblin, or Hobgoblin.
Yeah.
It's this guy Penance.
There's a bunch
who's
of
still
members.
one of the coolest characters I've ever seen him. He gets stronger with pain, so people hurt him and he gets stronger.
Red Hulk's in it.
Red Hulk, this is a very dark Venom who's ripping people to shreds, biting their heads off. You have these, I don't know if the Punisher was on that team, but some guy with guns was just relentless. Shocker was on the thing, killing people. Like that's a very dark and A-list stacked team, the Thunderbolts. And what we got Natasha or whatever from Black Widow. We got the wannabe Captain America guy who I guess killed someone or something. Like
Yeah.
who gives a shit? We got Bucky Barnes, but like, oh man, it's just like no.
You got a bunch of people that were connected to the bigger storylines. You got Yelena, who
Yeah,
was
a group
connected
of
to,
side characters.
right. So you
Yeah,
got
we got the
you got Yelena, who is connected to Natasha as a widow. You got Bucky, who's a Winter Soldier, who is connected to the bigger story of Captain America. You got the Red Guardian, who is connected to Natasha. You got, the John Walker, who is not the true Captain America. So you got all of these people that were connected to the main characters, but nobody that had been a main character, and there was no main character connection outside of the fact of having a conversation about Anthony Mackie's Captain America. And then to bring in Sentry was all well and good, but now like
yeah,
Sentry's a part of this team, but Sentry can't use his powers because he can't control himself and he can't control the void. And having the void, but then having the other void, which is the thing that starts out Deadpool and Wolverine, it's also confusing when Marvel is calling two different things the same thing. So Sentry can create a void, but then there's another void that's created that has to do with the TVA. And what does all of this mean? So, I mean, I think another problem that Marvel is having is their level of confusion. Do you
well,
think
that's
that?
and you get that from the streaming platform, and you get that from the films.
Right. But do you feel
Like
like it's because they
unless
went out too far? Do you feel like, I mean, they went
they
to space for Guardians of the Galaxy, and they went to space for Infinity War, and they went to space for Endgame?
no,
Do
I
you think
thought they
like
were
this
on
should
the
have come
right
back?
trajectory with
Okay.
by introducing space and Guardians, by introducing I think well, I guess technically it was Avengers with Thanos sitting literally in space, but
Yeah.
you knew other things were going to come with that. At that time, they didn't have the rights to Fantastic Four, X-Men. They didn't have the rights to. I don't even think they had the rights to Hulk. Eventually, Universal was like, you can have him back. That was they could have made billions off him, but they didn't.
Yeah.
Um, Spider-Man obviously is still Sony is keeping that very close.
Yeah.
Uh, but like they that was the next logical step. The problem is like they have, and this is what frustrates me more than anything is like they have templates already.
Yeah.
They have the comics that worked and the comics that don't. The best selling comics they can literally just look on a computer in 2 seconds and find the ones that sold the best. It's these big stories. It's Endgame. It's Infinity War. It's the Beyonder saga. It's the Incursions. Um it's I don't know, Mephisto. It's like different stuff, and they can literally just go into those stories, pluck them, have writers come in, and then get them ready for a script
Yeah.
and copy and paste, and you're done. And they just aren't, and I have no idea why they aren't doing that. I I get like they do have to do the reset, of course, because they have to explain how there's a new Iron Man and a Captain America again. And the other thing too is like I really hope they stop signing these really expensive popular people. Like just sign unknowns to crazy deals.
Right.
Like
Well, and I think
give
it's
them
more believable too. I mean, obviously Robert Downey Jr. did what he did, but I think when you bring in somebody that you don't know, like when you look at Fantastic Four,
well, no one knew
right,
Robert to a lot of people who aren't like extreme movie
right,
buffs. His career was literally dead.
right. Well, I mean, he was coming
He was
out.
paid
He was
pennies.
coming out of rehab and all this stuff,
Well,
and
he was a new guy. And
so
Chris Evans was a new guy too.
right,
He was a failed Fantastic Four
right.
character.
So it's like, I mean, back then, like you said, I mean, I like the relatively unknown. Like I can tell you that the Fantastic Four, outside of Pedro Pascal, the other three members of the Fantastic Four, those two actors and the actress that were in the Fantastic Four, I don't know them well enough. Like, I don't think. I mean, to me, Pedro Pascal, he didn't feel like Reed to me. I didn't think he did a bad job, but he didn't feel like
I don't
Reed
think
to
he did
me.
either.
You
I don't
know,
think he did either. He was good, but
yeah.
he wasn't a Reed.
But I think there's some, well, and I think the thing about it is he wasn't awkward enough, he wasn't nerdy enough, he wasn't uncomfortable enough. I mean, Reed is supposed to be extremely intelligent, but what typically happens when you have these characters that are extremely intelligent, I mean, you think about people in life, some of the smartest people in the world are socially awkward. And so in the case of, Pedro Pascal, he never came across as socially awkward in this movie at all. I mean, he kind of looks, and it's also like knowing him from other movies, is he kind of seems like a ladies' man. And so when you see Pedro Pascal, it doesn't really fit. But I mean, Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm, I believe it because I didn't know her from really anything
She,
else. Joseph
yeah,
Quinn as Johnny Storm, Human Torch. I don't know him from anything else.
he
Eh,
was one character in Stranger Things.
Right. And then Evan Moss
But
Bacharach, I mean, he was in other stuff, but I don't think known well enough for him to really separate himself. So I believe he's Ben Grimm. I believe he's the Thing. So I feel like a lot of that casting was good. Julia Garner, I don't know her from a lot of things. I know she was just in one of the scary movies that came out in Weapons, but being Shella Ball, to me that fit her being the female Silver Surfer. So a lot of these characters really made sense to me because the actors weren't known. And I think that that's the thing. If you want, and this is something that Disney needs to know, like, if you want us to believe that these people actually are the characters, you walk by someone in the street, Robert Downey, like you said, Robert Downey Jr., it was who was going to hire this guy? They weren't going to, I mean, I spoke with the former Marvel CEO about the whole Robert Downey Jr. thing, and sitting in a room and them saying like, "Hey, we want to cast him," and they're like, "Why? Why would we cast him? He's coming out of rehab and this and
he was
that."
blacklisted. He was
Right,
blacklisted.
and it was like, just watch him, and then they watched the footage, and it was like, he is Iron Man, right? Chris Evans was a guy that was making movies that, I mean, whatever. And then here's Chris Evans as Captain America, and it made sense. It fit. You forgot that he was Johnny Storm. You forgot that he was Human Torch. You look at most of the actors that we saw in Marvel, it made sense because they weren't that well known. They became well known from being in Marvel. And no disrespect to them, but the characters that we know them to be, like Tom Holland is Spider-Man. I mean, he is Spider-Man. So that's how we got to know them. And I think it's important that, and I agree with you, that when Marvel's creating this stuff, not only does it save them money to not hire somebody who is, has been out there forever, but, it helps the believability of the character when you bring somebody in that not a lot of people know from a lot of other things. So you automatically just say, okay, yeah, this is who they are. Like, I didn't know Tobey Maguire. I only knew him as Spider-Man. I mean,
Yeah,
that's just what I knew him to be. And so I think I mean, obviously being a good actor or actress, but also, and it gives people an opportunity. It gives them a job. Like, who knew Daniel Radcliffe before he was Harry Potter? So to me, it's like, that's who he was. That's who he's always going to be. And people talk about, well, I don't want to be typecast, and I get that. But if people thought for the rest of my life that I was Spider-Man, I mean, is that really a bad thing for that? So I mean, I do agree with you that having these characters, come up and get to be known in this is really, it's important for Disney to go and find an actor or an actress and let them develop into this character on screen, like Joseph Quinn. Like I said, knew nothing about Joseph Quinn. All I know him as is Human Torch. But
I.
go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Oh no, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. So I mean, I think that really there's a lot of things that Marvel has to work through, and I think the biggest issue is they saw the work to go up the mountain, and again, once they got to the top of the mountain, they're like, we got to stay up here. We got to have all this crazy stuff. We got to be on the top, and it's like, well, these movies cost a ton of money that you want to do, and I think it's too early to do Doomsday. I think it's too early to do Secret Wars.
It's way too early.
And it's like, you want to introduce Doom and then make him Grand Emperor Doom. Like, I want to see Doom for the next 5 to 10 years before he does Battle World. I want Doom to fight the Fantastic Four. Then I want Doom to branch out. I want Doom to go, and steal the power of the Beyonder. I want Doom to be developed. I mean, Thanos was developed over 10 years. In the background, he was developing himself within that decade of time. He's sitting in a chair, and who the heck is this guy? To like more and more of us getting to know his story. I just with Kang, they were like they went straight from Thanos to Kang is the big bad for the next 10 years, and you're going to get to know him. And then they fire Jonathan Majors, and now we have to have Doom. I feel like they've forgotten their own ingredients to success of you have to build all these stories up the mountain and then do that thing after 10 years. I feel like now that they're at the top, it's like we have to stay here. We can't come off of here. Everything has to be an Avenger level threat. And I think it's ridiculous because Kang was supposed to be the new bad, Nico. He was supposed to be an Avenger level threat, and he was beat by Ant-Man, the Wasp, and Ant-Man's daughter
I
in
didn't
one
even
movie.
watch
You
that.
know,
Yeah, I had no interest in it. It was a lame villain to begin with. Like, or not his character in the comics is different.
right. And again, we knew nothing about his story, and he is the distant relative of Reed Richards. So we met him before we met Reed. So things were done outside of a typical timeline. It seems like Disney has looked to Marvel Studios and said, "We did all these movies over time. How can we condense 10 years into 3 minutes? How can we just keep making these awesome Endgame movies?" And they're forgetting the fact that you don't make Infinity War and Endgame successful without having all of these individual stories and team ups beforehand. So if you
I
want
actually,
to be what you were before,
yeah,
you're going to have to plan out a new decade. And the fact that we're going to get Doomsday next year and then Secret Wars right after, I mean, Disney's kind of asking for it because not only are you trying to stay at the top of the mountain and not build again and not even respect your own formula of success, but you're putting yourselves in a situation where you're desperate, you're losing money, and now you're going to
it,
be spending so much money. I mean, every time you're going to have Robert Downey Jr., you're going to hand him $50 million. I mean, that's more than most people's movie budget. So I don't know how Marvel can rush storylines, rush production, spend all this money, and then think that they're going to make it all back. I really feel like Marvel forgot how to be Marvel, and that's why they're suffering. And to bring it all back to Doomsday, Nico, I think they hired Robert Downey Jr. to admit the fact they have failed so much since they lost him, since he died, that they brought back Robert Downey Jr. to as a last ditch effort to save Marvel Studios. I think this is their quest to take the man that they built 10 years around and to try and build the next however many years around him. I think Robert Downey Jr.'s return to Marvel is Disney saying publicly, we have no idea what else to do.
yeah, no, yeah, it's. I'll say I think Thunderbolts long term is going to do a lot of damage because again, it was a cast. Look, it's characters that are rejects that I'm gonna be honest, like very few people actually care about. A lot of people like the film because they related to suicide and mental health and honestly it looked a lot better than the garbage the last like seven garbage films that we got minus like the Spider-Mans and the Wakanda Forever and stuff but like a lot of garbage has just been coming out from Marvel so that film looked good. The problem is I almost wish it didn't because it was nothing there's no reason that film should have even came out. Those characters could have been on Netflix or on a Disney Plus show, and they could have called themselves the Rejects, a new group of whatevers, and that would have been fine. And then you just kind of bury them. Nobody cares. Sentry did not. Sentry is
He's supposed to be
based on what I
Superman
based
of
on what I've
Marvel.
read. Well, even apparently even more than that.
Yeah.
Based on what I've read, I thought he was just another Superman, but based on what I've read exactly, his there's no limit yet that's been put on him by the writers. He technically could be the strongest character in the entire
Yeah.
multiverse. He could be not like the one above all, but like the second he could be on par with like the Living Tribunal. He could be on par with like the Beyonders even because his ability to I guess he can create life in the comics. I didn't know that. I guess he can heal people from the dead. So that's essentially God powers
Yeah.
on a I didn't know any of that. I thought he was just a destroyer when he's in his dark form, and Superman when he's. But apparently, he has these powers that I didn't even know about. So, if he has those, then he is the strongest character in Marvel that we know of. Obviously, the one above all doesn't get involved in anything, but he might be the strongest character. To put him against the biggest group of rejects was beyond insulting. We didn't get to see him hit anyone because he would have killed them in one punch. We did like,
Yeah.
yeah, he headbutted someone or he threw. You know, when I rewatched that fight scene on YouTube, because I'm not gonna watch the film ever again, but I watched in the theater. I was like, oh, this is cool. We're gonna see something, and then I realized, oh, we're not gonna see anything because there's no Hulk here, there's no Venom or Carnage or there's no Wolverine. Like he can't actually do anything because he'll kill everyone in 2 seconds. And I see the fight scene again. He's throwing everyone around. He's giving them hug like a little toss. He's tossing everyone. He's tossing the red guardian or whatever his name is into the counter. He's tossing Natasha or whatever her name is. He's tossing everybody. He's just lightly tossing them, and they're all wounded and hurt. He's bending a shield, which is cool, I guess. But he he purposely doesn't do anything because if he did anything, they would all be dead. And that right there is like the first time I wanted to see him on screen was World War Hulk. I
Yeah.
wanted to see the storyline where Hulk's son, not the garbage CGI that I've never seen before. I see the memes, but I've never watched the show.
Yeah.
His son actually being killed or whatever on the planet with his wife from the World War Hulk storyline, and then he gets so angry because he thinks it's the Avengers that set it up, or the Illuminati or whatever that set it up. He thought Reed Richards or someone killed his family.
Yeah.
He loses it, and he goes into the strongest form we've ever seen up to that point, and he's literally like destroying the planet. And then you have every that's he becomes in one comic he becomes one of those big supervillains. Like he becomes a multiversal threat right there. And like that could have been the next storyline. Forget Kang the Conqueror for that nobody's heard about and it's just a weird forget Doomsday, like you said, it's too early. That should have like that could have been the next one. You have like some kind of multiversal rift open up and X-Men pour out, Fantastic Four. You have all the things that were from the comics. Because in the comics, everyone fought him and they lost. He beat everyone. He soloed the Avengers. He soloed the X-Men. He took out Fantastic Four. He took out the Brotherhood. Like he destroyed Colossus. He annihilated the Juggernaut. Anyone else who had strength, he beat. There was literally no one who could touch him. I think he killed someone too. I think he started killing people. But yeah, then you have the Sentry come in at full power and go toe to toe. And this is a big what if. This is what readers had that followed it wanted to know. What would happen if you have the Sentry versus the Hulk at full, like technically the Hulk has a limited strength.
Yeah.
The angrier he gets, the stronger he gets. So if he just keeps getting angry, he'll never have a ceiling. The Sentry might have a ceiling, but apparently maybe he doesn't. So like you just see them go head to head, both at full power, just destroying the planet with their fight. They both revert into their human forms because of how crazy that fight was. And then I think they continue it again or something. But that was like what the Sentries should have been. His first appearance. Instead, we got this typical Disney. Hey, it's Bob. It's Bob. We can't introduce a little like a little droid from Star Wars, or we can't introduce a little Groot from Guardians to sell because everyone likes these cute little droids or these cute little Groots. And so we can't introduce that in Thunderbolts, but we're gonna have Bob.
Yeah.
He's gonna be our new little marketing, the cute little funny, like, oh, it's Bob. Hey Bob, like and that was so funny and that was so clever and so lame. And I hated it. I hated it because he's not that in the comics. He is a massive alcoholic. He's fighting real demons. He has, I don't know, his multiple personality disorder, schizophrenia. Like this guy is screwed. And he's like going through hell in his head.
Yeah.
And literally he has the void in his head. Everything is like going bad for this guy. It's literally it could have been a thriller. The first true I know that was supposed to be like the second Doctor Strange was going to be the first real Marvel thriller horror movie, whatever. It wasn't. But this could have been. It could have been like this guy fighting his demons with drugs and alcohol, really getting into his head and like beating himself up and stuff. And then you bring in all this stuff for this huge fight. And so you don't need to introduce anyone because you just have these rifts opening up and like outpours Colossus and stuff. And it could be a Colossus from the old Fox universe. It could be a new Colossus. I don't even care. You just show the strength of Sentry at full power, and that's what the movie budget would have had to double. They would have had to sign 1 million people to it,
Right.
but it could have
But
been.
you're saving money because who knows the guy that you know what I mean? The guy that
Yeah,
played
like
Sentry
just,
was not a well-known actor
right.
at the point. So it's like here you are world building around Sentry and you have this, I mean, think about it. I mean, you're bringing up a great point. You have a Superman or more powerful than Superman because he has this other side of him, the void. So you have this potential hero, also villain, who nobody can stop. They say that he is stronger than every Avenger put together. So in order to try and stop him, you put the, like you said, you throw the Avengers at him, you throw the X-Men at him, you throw the Fantastic Four at him, and the Avengers have been displaced. Some of them are dead. You know, you have old man Cap.
Or just
See,
anyone we
right.
have left.
But you think about that. The
Or
Avengers,
Shang-Chi, like
yeah,
big.
the
Big
Avengers
name.
aren't together. They have broken up since Endgame. They're not banded together anymore. What would bring them all back together? Having a Superman with a dark side
Yeah.
come in to Earth and he shows up from places unknown and you have to try and stop him. You're what you just said, boom. Beautiful. Bring in Sentry
People
and
would have
plan the
seen
next
it. I
10
would have
years
seen it
around
twice.
Sentry because you can't stop him.
Yeah.
Who's going to stop him? I mean, if Galactus went up against him, I mean, what are the Avengers going to do? Have to make a deal with Galactus? So, I mean, you just brought up a perfect point. Introduce Sentry, and that brings the Avengers together, and even the Avengers can't stop him, which is why you need the X-Men, which is why you need the Fantastic Four, which is why you need to have these rifts open up, to have a new Iron Man, you know, whoever Cap's going to be. You have to figure this stuff out. You have to break the Red Hulk out of jail because you need every Hulk to be thrown at him. I mean, you just came up with an awesome centerpiece to the next 10 years of Marvel. I wish they listened to you.
And any other fan, because any other fan would have also said Doomsday is coming way too. The problem is the last big, massive event in the comics was this Doomsday, was this Secret Wars.
Yeah.
Like once they finish with that, there is no next big event because they haven't written it yet. There have been big moments in the comics, but not a big event. The big event would be Civil War. A big event, not as big, they tried, but Civil War 2. A big event would be Scarlet Witch's like snapping her fingers and eliminating almost all the mutants.
Yeah, no more
mutants. A big event would be the incursions. A big event would be the appearance of the Beyonders. A big event would be Battle World. A big event would be Secret Wars. A big event is the Infinity Wars and the Infinity Gauntlet. Like these are big events.
Right.
This is the last big comic event. This should literally be way further down the line. And the fact that we're getting it now is insane. And what worries me is Endgame did it beautifully because you grew up with these characters for a decade.
Yeah.
They're all, everyone who lined up in that lineup had 1 to 2 films that you got to know at least.
Right.
Some had 3, some were in 7, 8. Right. Crossovers,
and even
like
the ones that didn't have their own film, they were in multiple films, like a Black Widow, like a Hawkeye, like Hulk. They kept showing up.
Yeah, and Deadpool's cameos felt cheaper because you knew some of these characters from other. It was very cool when I saw Pyro and Toad again. It was cool when I laughed really hard when Pyro took all the flames from Johnny Storm and he slammed his nuts and then fell onto the ground. Like there was funny moments, there was good moments. Seeing Elektra, seeing Gambit, like these are
the
cool
best moments of films ever. There's one blade, and there's only ever going to be one blade by Wesley Snipes.
And I love that. There's moments that I loved in that film, but but overall, it just felt cheap. It felt corporate. They're just throwing these characters because they know people will love it, and it's nostalgia, and that means dollars. That saved that Deadpool movie. I think without those cameos and everything, it would have been one of the worst movies ever.
Right, and I'm finding the TVA in the void.
I hate the team. I don't
It's
even.
not working for me, Nico.
I hate
It's
it.
not work.
I
The
haven't seen the
TVA
shows.
really is not.
I haven't even watched
Yeah,
Loki, and I know it's from Loki because I piece it together in my head
yeah.
using my knowledge of the comics and
But the
everything.
TVA, it's almost it's kind of like it just it's not. It's supposed to affect everything, and it's supposed to introduce the multiverse, and it's supposed to let us know about all of this pruning and all, each universe can spin off into all these different things, and you have to prune it
Okay.
because each universe has. But all it became was an extremely complicated, strange thing that really doesn't make any sense. Who really started it? Why does it exist? Who has missed minutes? It's it,
I don't even know.
it's like a Marvel. It's like the TVA is essentially a library inside of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and this library of cubicles of people typing are responsible for everything not going into chaos. And now Loki's sitting in a chair, literally holding on to branches. And if Loki dies or falls asleep or gets up from the chair, all of these rifts will happen and Battle World will happen. So essentially, all you have to do is kick Loki out of his chair, and every multiverse will fall upon itself. Like, allegedly,
I
I guess.
Yeah, the TV, the stuff like, and that right there is where the Disney Plus is absolutely, because I'm not watching any of these shows. I refuse to watch them. I don't care to watch them. I really don't think they're ever going to release anything I want to watch. If it's like a straight to Disney Plus movie, now that's different. Now that's if we're doing like a Punisher R-rated film, but like the budget's lower, but it's a straight to Disney Plus movie, or it's like on Hulu or something, or we get like I don't know, but like yeah, then I'm in. But I think the show's just I can't do it. Just like I said, that format of dragging on, you go from like this one cool action scene, whatever, and then you're just talking and talking, and is it progressing the storyline? It doesn't feel like it. Am I getting to really know the characters? I don't know. It's just WandaVision. A lot happened that I just didn't. I was like, okay,
Well,
that's
they wanted to introduce WandaVision, which went into witches, which went into Mephisto, and now
the
we have
problem. Is Mephisto should have been on the big screen.
right.
He should have been there in
Well,
Doctor Strange too.
it,
Mephisto is like an iconic character. Now he's ruined
well, and
because he got
this is
the
what I don't get.
lamest.
What were you gonna say?
He just got the lamest. Can't like he got the lamest, not the lamest, but he got a cameo in a show that
Has
didn't do
nothing to do
well.
with them,
It
right?
literally didn't do well. It bombed.
But
It tanked.
it has nothing. I mean, who would have thought? Like, if you had betting odds in Vegas, who would have put money that when Mephisto finally was revealed, it would be in Ironheart,
Yeah,
and
that's what I mean.
and that the hero, this is the first Marvel hero to make a deal with the devil, and has essentially what given up her soul. So at the end of that show, it's like Riri Williams has never been a true hero. She seems like she's always been somewhat selfish, and now she has made a deal with the devil. So how are they going to right that ship? Like, how are they going to untether her soul to Mephisto? And how are we supposed to get behind Marvel Studios' new Iron Man in Ironheart? Like, how are you want children to back a teenager that just made a deal with the Satan of Marvel? I
Yeah,
mean, you're going to have a TV show end with a superhero making a deal with the literal devil of Marvel.
yeah. Dan, give me one
Yeah,
second. I gotta grab my
yeah.
charger
So
for my
to me,
computer.
that makes absolutely no sense. So in the where we're at right now, theme of things, as we take a look at a bunch of notes that we made. And, I love your idea of having Sentry be at the center of it all, and they could have built that way. But now, we look at the TVA, we look at the Void, things that you and I are really not in favor of that don't make sense and have made things ever so more confusing. It has brought us to Avengers Doomsday, and I do want to hit with this before we get into Avengers Doomsday. Is there too much going on? And to the point of this, Nico, now, they wanted to get to this multiversal saga, right? And again, rushing to get here. So they wanted to rush to get to this multiversal saga. And in rushing to get to it, is there essentially too much going on? And what I mean by that is in Spider-Man No Way Home, there was a rift open in the multiverse by Tom Holland's Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man, with Doctor Strange's spell. That's one. WandaVision with her hex. That's two. Loki in the TVA and holding on to this new tree of the multiverse. That's three. On top of that, they said Thanos' snap sent a ripple effect through potentially the universe and the multiverse. That's four. The Eternals and what's going on with them trying to break through the planet. So, how do the Celestials fit into all of this? That's five potential issues. Then you go to the Marvels movie and the rift that we saw Photon fly through. That's another rift. So, if we're not counting the Celestials as a rift, we have five rifts. Plus, we have the celestial issues going on here. So, essentially, what I'm saying to you is if we wanted to go into the multiverse, we only needed to crack through the universe one time to expose it to the multiverse. But what we did was, in the Marvels, in Spider-Man No Way Home, in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, there's the rift that Clea cuts through, and it looks like she's going to Dormammu, and I believe she's the daughter of Dormammu. So, we have a rift in Doctor Strange 2. We have a rift in the Marvels. We have a rift in Spider-Man No Way Home. We have a rift with Loki's Season 2. Thanos' snap potentially created a rift. Why did we need five rifts or multiple rifts? I mean, do you think that this is overly complicated, the multiverse? Because there's not one set thing that ripped open the multiverse. We're now seeing that, and then in Fantastic Four First Steps, wherever they sent Galactus to, that opened up the multiverse as well to Earth 828 that sent Galactus somewhere, which I think they sent him to Earth 616, which is the main universe of Marvel Comics and the MCU. So now we have six rifts, plus dealing with the Eternals and the Celestials. Is that too confusing, and should there have just been one breaking of the multiverse?
I don't know if the rifts are necessarily like the issue. I get why they're doing that in all these like different. It's so they can introduce characters they wouldn't be able to, so they can do this thing where the Fantastic Four, they knew they couldn't just introduce someone that big in Marvel. I'm sure they talked it over a million times. How do we do they go to space in the MCU and then they get their powers? The way they did it was it's a completely different universe and everyone knows their names. They're the most famous people on Earth. I thought that was done well. I don't have a huge problem with the riffs and stuff. I think it is confusing, to answer your question, but it's lazy storytelling a lot of the time.
Yeah.
The other problem is another big issue is they don't have the rights to Spider-Man. He's the most grounded character in all of Marvel in terms of he literally is like the one guy who can fight like the neighborhood villain and it not feel like you have to introduce like 100 multiversal characters and problems. And I thought it worked for Spider-Man 3 when they had the rifts and everything. It was a little rushed and it was a little stupid, the reasoning for why they did it, but like it worked. It like my favorite scene of all three Spider-Mans
Yeah.
is him having the talk with his counterparts. And like Toby Maguire's character stopping him from killing because he knows like that's it's his biggest regret. Like without the rifts, we don't get the three Spider-Mans together. It's my favorite moment in all the Spider-Mans. It's my favorite moment in one of my favorite moments in all of Marvel. So like in that way, it had to happen. It was important that it happened.
Yeah.
Then there's lazy storytelling where you just I don't off the top of my head it would just be like I don't even know. Like I said, I personally don't have a huge problem with the rifts. Are they confusing? Yes. The Eternals still get clowned on social media even to this day. Like a huge what if question mark, what they could have been, that group. They were supposed to be this is before Marvel had the rights to Fox. So they didn't have Fantastic Four, they
Right.
didn't have X-Men. They bombed the Inhumans on that god awful introduction in whatever show I didn't watch on whatever
Yeah, because they were going
network.
to have it be a movie, and then they ended up having it be like the first two episodes open in IMAX, and then it was on TV. But the costuming looked like some horrible, like, cosplay gone wrong.
It was a complete joke. I mean, you take the budget for uh I don't know, you take the budget for Thor, that god awful movie, the last Thor. You take the budget for the Captain America. You take all those budgets. You could add Incredible Inhumans film. It's like those characters are the X-Men of space. That would have been fantastic. Then they introduce the Internals because that's like, all right, we don't have the rights to this, and this. We killed the Inhumans before we even got a chance with them. Let's like just jump to the Eternals. Well, I thought the Eternals was going to be great because we didn't have X-Men rights. We didn't have yet at the time, or it wasn't finalized, or we wouldn't get it. I don't even remember the timeline exactly, but I thought that was great. I was like, okay, I don't know much about the Eternals. I do know they have a Superman type leader. I know some of them have like god powers, like they draw strongly from Greek mythology. This could really be cool. I thought Thor was really cool when they have the Norse mythology in there.
Yeah.
My favorite scene from the first Thor movie is literally the opening scene when the Asgardians come down to Earth and protect the humans in the ancient Norse age. Like I thought it would be really cool. Instead, we got the film we got. I don't think it was horrible, but I definitely don't think it was great. And the reason they're still clowned and memed is not even because people hate the film. It's because they introduce like these insane things that they no one's ever talked about again. The celestial in the ocean that looks like Galactus, but it's not Galactus. It's another celestial.
Yeah.
Nobody's brought that up in any of the Marvel movies, and
Tiamat, yeah.
that's
Well, now it's in Captain America 4 and Brave New
yeah.
World.
Now
That,
they're like, oh yeah,
yeah.
we have to address it.
Well, and how they addressed it is that Tiamat has, like, on Tiamat, that the Celestials are where they get adamantium from. And so they're trying to go this. They're now where Tiamat's hand stretching out from Earth, and I think it's the Indian Ocean or something like that, with his hand stretching out and his head partially out. They now call it Celestial Island. But here's the thing: like, if
See, I
something
didn't even know
was
that.
coming,
Go watch it.
but think about it, like if there was a being coming out from the core of the Earth and is now somewhat exposed, wouldn't that throw the Earth off its axis? Wouldn't it change, like, natural phenomenon? Like, wouldn't it affect the weather? Wouldn't it affect the axis of Earth? There's so many things that they don't address. Like, how does having a celestial halfway born out of the center of the Earth not mess with everything having to do with the Earth? If the moon from so far away can affect the ocean's currents and the waves of the ocean, and so if the moon far away can affect the water on Earth, then how does a celestial halfway born through the Earth's center out not affect everything about Earth? I mean, why wouldn't this just like throw Earth into a tizzy and essentially even make the Earth fall out of orbit with the sun? No, just a being came out and now it's an island. How does
Yeah,
that not affect
it
the
was.
natural makeup of Earth itself? I mean, I would love to have some people sit with us and speak about, everything that has to do with nature and how this giant celestial does absolutely nothing but just be a place for us to find adamantium. Makes no sense to me.
Yeah, and the other thing is, you saw in Wakanda Forever what happens when they find out that they have, um, well, whatever they have, their rare flower that gives people super human strength, and
Yeah.
they also have their metal and
Vibranium, yeah.
vibranium, and like, okay, so like they made that into a film. Like
Yeah.
he made it into a whole film. Like outside nations, France wanted the like special forces from France went in to try to steal that metal. You saw the women, the soldiers of Wakanda, just beat all the France special forces, and then dog walk them to the courts and say like the stern warning: if you guys do this again, we'll kill you all. The same thing would be happening for that. It would be a race to the adamantium.
Yeah.
Everyone would be trying to and they could have made that into a film. Again, you don't need King. That celestial could have been awoken in a violent way. People are literally ripping apart his hand to farm adamantium, and then you have a
Well,
battle
and you
ensued.
don't have like the Middle East. You don't have Iran going after this. You don't have Russia going after this. I
Nobody's
mean,
going after it. They don't care that
China's
he's just
not
sitting
going
there
after it. Like,
with the most important metal
yeah,
aside from vibranium in the entire universe, and he's just sitting there.
something
Nobody
that could
wants it.
take
Nobody.
Syracuse, my hometown. Something that could take the United States of America and no longer make them the lead superpower of the world. No other country with a ruthless dictator, with someone who is a loose cannon, like North Korea, China, Russia, like nobody is going after this. Like if they got adamantium in the MCU, they would be more powerful than potentially Wakanda, more powerful than the United States of America, more powerful than anyone on the planet.
Yeah.
And we're peacefully talking about it at the White House.
Nobody's going for it, but it's just another Marvel flaw. They introduce something and then they're backtracking. Again, I don't know why the writing team was like why everything was structured so much better in those first phases compared to now. Like
Because they
you could
cared
say
about the
because
story.
they saw dollar signs, and they were like Kevin Feige was forced to pump out more content because they thought they would see those same dollar signs. I get it. Like towards the end of the final phase of that golden age of Marvel MCU, like Captain America or Captain Marvel, that movie raked in $1 billion, which is unheard of for a standalone film like that. Then you had Infinity War, Endgame. Endgame, obviously, famously, like I don't know, it's close to 2 billion or more, or whatever. Like, so when you see that kind of money, of course you're gonna somebody at the top is gonna be like, you gotta pump more out.
Yeah.
If we're making almost 2 billion in film now, like we have to. I mean, we're printing money, and I get why there was a push for more content. They thought it would continue. The Captain Marvels would continue to do 1 billion. Even a bad film would do 600, 700 million easy, but that's just not the case. People are fatigued. People are worn out. They're just worn out with this whole thing. And again, I like to go with many reasons that I think the streaming hurt them. I think going from all A-list characters that you built up for a decade to all B and C tier characters that you didn't build up at all and nobody cares about.
Yeah.
That's a problem. Those are two major problems. And then, like I said, Spider-Man is not a normal character. His universe is so big. The villains are so iconic. If they didn't have the rights to Fantastic Four, even, I think they would still be better off. You can replace them with the Inhumans, the Eternals. You can try again with the Eternals. You can reboot the Inhumans. You can have a substitute for Fantastic Four. You lose Galactus, you lose the Silver Surfer, but you would get like having Spider-Man would have helped them a lot. This whole thing where we're like having rifts and everything, and we're Spider-Man is like I think the reason it's so appealing is because when we first saw the multiverse, when we first saw rifts, when we first saw time travel, it was cool. Now it's just like people are fatigued by it. It's an easy way to get out of lazy writing. With Spider-Man, it's completely different. He's not fighting multiversal threats. He's not fighting Celestials. He's not fighting Galactus. This guy is literally fighting the Rhino, Scorpion.
Yeah.
He's fighting Doc Ock. He's fighting the Green Goblin. These are people that like kind of are neighborhood villains. Obviously, they have bigger ambitions. They should, the Sinister Six could have been done really well. Like, there's a lot of the Venom, the Carnage, but Sony is not going to give that up. They know what they have. They know what they have, but they can't execute on it. Venom just got worse and worse. I only watched the first one, never watched the second two. I thought what they did with Carnage was abysmal. So did many other people. And Morbius was a joke. Madam Web was a joke. Craven the Hunter was a joke. And now they're dead. Now they saying goodbye to that whole universe, which is great because Sony. I don't know what happened to Sony either. Like people give Marvel a lot of flack, but I don't know what happened to Sony. Like they made some of the best superhero hero films ever.
Yeah.
At least one and two. Three obviously was lacking and got clowned, but one and two was like some of the best we've ever seen of superhero films. Tobey Maguire, like I don't know what happened to those casting directors, or like yeah, and those writers. Sony still has the money; they could rehire all of them. Um, but yeah, they. I don't know why Sony is literally. It looks Marvel and Disney, they've been putting out crap for a very long time, but it's like they don't understand their own product, and it's almost like they can be forgiven, even though they can't because they're just ruining Marvel. But Sony is just like lost. I don't know what it's like. They're intentionally trying to kill their. It's like they want to lose the rights to Spider-Man, which would be great because they don't know how to handle it. The best Spider-Man content we've got from them is because of Kevin Feige and Disney. I wish they could put the same effort and care and love into their universe as they're doing to Spider-Man. But it's like they care about Sony's product more than they care about their own. Sony doesn't know what they're doing. I have no idea how you release Spider-Man 1 and 2 and even 3 at this point and we get the garbage that's come out with all these standalone garbage films that really have been tanking and tanking because nobody wants to watch them. And the reason nobody wants to watch them is because these characters don't deserve their own films. They're villains. They're not anti-heroes. And that is probably the final problem I have of all this Disney stuff is heroes, villains and anti-heroes. And like the Punisher is the only character that I know of who is like he kills without thinking. He doesn't care. He's ruthless. He tortures. He's sadistic, but like deep down, he's good. Like that's his character. But they've applied that to Boba Fett in Star Wars. They've applied that to Venom. They've applied that to now Venom does eventually have an arc where he does turn into some character like that.
Yeah.
But that doesn't apply to as far as I know, it doesn't apply to Morbius or Craven or I don't know. They were gonna go down the whole list.
Yeah.
Like these are villains. They're villains. They're villains in Spider-Man. Yes, Craven has teamed up with Spider-Man, but he's also fought him. Like you need Spider-Man to have a good and they have the rights.
Right.
Like they can do whatever they want.
Your only
but
anti-hero to use is Venom. You have Spider-Man versus Venom, then Spider-Man and Venom versus Carnage. That's how you do it.
Right. Yeah. He's a villain, but he also but he's also like in the Thunderbolts, and I don't know if that's Eddie Brock anymore. That might be a whole different guy, but he's in the Thunderbolts in the comics one, ripping people to shreds, literally like biting their heads off, gutting them down. Like so again, I don't know if that's a different Venom or that's Eddie, but like he's a real villain in the Thunderbolts in that, and Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin, is a real villain. These guys are not bad guys, but they're really good guys. They're just bad. and that's it. And you have to make a distinction. You have to have bad, and any when you're doing these Star Wars characters like Boba Fett, when he was created in the original trilogy from the 90s or 80s or whatever, he was a slaver. His ship was literally named Slave One. Of course, they've changed it. They had to go woke like that. That's too controversial. You can't have a ship named Slave One, but it was called Slave One. He captured people and brought them to either be, I mean, let's be honest, sex trafficked or to the Huts, or enslaved by the Huts, forced into servitude. Like that's what he was getting paid for. He's a villain. He's not a good guy. And he had a short cameo in Return of the Jedi, but he became one of the most iconic characters ever. He's a bad guy. He just does this for money. He should have died doing this for money. He's a villain. He should be a villain. He might even be worse than Darth Vader. But Disney turned him into this anti-hero. They turned him into this guy who's like, he you know they post Return of the Jedi. His whole show started after that, and he's like, he's in the desert and he meets these people. I don't even remember. The show was horrible, and he's just like, you know what? I think I'm gonna be a good guy. I'm gonna be a badass good guy. And that is like literally the worst. I hate when they turn villains into a badass good guy. That's what the Mandalorian is. That's literally what he is. Pedro Pascal's Mandalorian, that's literally what he is. He's Boba Fett, except he's good. He has Grogu. He can kill anyone. Don't get it twisted. He's good at fighting and killing, but he's a good guy. Boba Fett is not a good. He should be trying to capture the little Yoda, little Grogu. He should be killing people. He should be trying to kill Luke Skywalker. But instead, they made him another good guy. And it's like, well, you're making everyone good. There's no villains. And then you have these really dorky villains. Um, I don't even remember his name because he's so forgettable. But when you take a villain and you turn him into a good guy, you ruin your own content. It should be black and white when it comes to these things sometimes. Yes, people like Venom and the Punisher can have more depth. They can, because Venom has a love interest that literally saved him from becoming a true villain. Uh, the Punisher obviously has, like, deep down inside has a soul still. He misses his children, his child, he misses his wife. He'll kill anyone to get justice, but he'll also protect people that need protection. He'll just do it in a brutal way. That's their characters. That's what they were written as. Keep it. But that's not Boba Fett. That's not early stage Venom. He didn't just randomly turn into this anti-hero. Like, I don't know what they did with Carnage. I know he was a villain, but it was like I mean, to cast that guy as I don't even care. It annoys me to they have so much they can pull from Sony. They they should be going right now into the studios and casting Andrew Garfield for Spider-Man 3.
Yeah.
His little line in No Way Home, or Home, or whatever the final Spider-Man trilogy movie was, when he says, like, I just stopped pulling my punches, like, that implies he was killing people. And there is a comic where, an alternate universe, I think, or something, where he's like a villain, and he's one of the strongest characters, and people forget that he's one of the strongest characters in Marvel. He's killing people left and right. I would love to see an Andrew Garfield taking out the Rhino, killing the Shocker. I don't know, I don't care, but, like, really, really fighting with the pain and the loss of Gwen Stacy. That would be a fantastic film. I know they have the money to hire the writers to play with the heartstrings and make it emotional, and help people resonate with the character even more. That people are still talking about the. I go back and watch the clip all the time still, like where he dives to save Zendaya's MJ character because he's had so much practice
Yeah.
with not being able to save Gwen Stacy. He's literally and little things like that come from Kevin Feige, Disney, and Marvel, and that side. I don't know what Sony is doing. They are literally lost. They could literally make that film, that really dark fall of Andrew Garfield, And then they could introduce a Venom, they could introduce whatever they want. Like they're clearly not giving up the rights to Disney. So if you're not going to give the rights to Disney, then use Spider-Man, man. Like I want to see more of him. You're not going to get more Tom Holland, so you gotta think of like your next step. And for now, you could have an Andrew Garfield movie. You could have a fourth Tobey Maguire movie where he returns injured and he comes home to the Sinister Six in his world. I don't know. You like, but people want more Spider-Man because it's so rich in villains that are iconic. It's um the character is amazing. He's relatable. And there's yeah, there's just so much to pull from, and we could get a real Carnage this time, and a better Venom, in Andrew at least in Andrew Garfield's universe. Because again, Tom Holland is done after the next three films, and that's fine. But and he's done a lot. I respect it, but that's also goes back to the point why it's important to sign unknown people. Because when Tom Holland started, I mean, this guy was literally doing Billy Elliot flips every chance he got in front of the camera. He was so excited to be this character. He'd pay you to be Spider-Man. And that's who you want. You are we ever gonna see Angelina Jolie again as an Eternal? No. Are we ever gonna see uh Anthony Hopkins as Odin in a meaningful scene?
Yeah.
Not like him just sitting in a throne giving a couple lines. No. We because you signed these mega A-list stars that are already old. They can't perform. They're not in it for the long haul. They're in it for the name recognition, but fans don't attach to that. Now, if we got a unknown guy who was a little younger to play Odin, and we got to see more of him, and he got more story time, we would form attachments. If we got to see more of Angelina Jolie's character, if we even got to see more Eternals. I mean, they had Harry Styles show up at the end of Eternals. We'll never see him again. We might see him as a joke in a Deadpool thing, or like we might see him even in Battle World. I highly doubt it, but we'll never see that guy again. And what were we gonna do with one of the biggest pop stars in the world, anyways? Like, what was his? Was he gonna sign on to a 10 picture deal? No, so don't sign him. Don't sign any A-list stars. You could literally go right now to Broadway theaters in New York City, and you could pluck who you need for the Avengers, X-Men, Fantastic Four, you name it, Spider-Man, whoever, and they will all. Are you kidding? You tell them they have to sign on for a 7 picture deal.
Yeah.
They'll for 7 films that they have to guarantee in writing. They'll pay them the minimum for what Marvel is. Like you have to be in 7 films. We'll pay you like $20 million for all 7 films. That's insanely low. I get it, but like, are you kidding? They would those struggling actors on Broadway, obviously not the top tier Broadway talent, but just really good actors on Broadway would jump at that in 2 seconds. Find the attractive, whatever you're looking for, the muscular, the strong, the guys who can cry, the women who can show strength. Take all whatever you need from places like Broadway, from places unknown people. Let them grow with Marvel, let them appreciate Marvel, let them and you will have a much better connection between the fans and the cast versus the Angelina Jolie who is just there for brand recognition. She's never going to show up again. Harry Styles is never coming back to do anything meaningful. Anthony Hopkins is whatever. And now RDJ is like that as well. When he started, he was getting paid pennies. I think, I don't know, that first film he made like $6 million or something like that. Like he was so happy to take that. Now RDJ will not step foot on a set in Marvel unless you're paying him $50 million minimum. 60, 70. Like we don't need that. He's been fantastic. And his time as Iron Man will never, ever, ever be replicated in my lifetime. He is Iron Man. The next Iron Man might be excellent too, but he is the Iron Man. And his send off was literally perfect.
Yeah.
And again, it's just like, what? what they had was luck. They had, of course, they had talent. They had talented costume design. They had talented CGI. They had talented story writers, for sure. Talented story writers. Kevin Feige was should be praised as the GOAT. Yeah, he's bombed crazy hard with all this woke crap and these crappy movies and these garbage characters and these Disney Plus spin-offs that nobody watches and nobody understands. The TVA. I know enough to know what it is, but I will never care about it. They had lightning in a bottle. They executed it perfectly. I mean, I literally go back and rewatch all the scenes you were talking about earlier, the emotional scenes, the
Yeah.
Gamora scenes, the this and that. Tony talking to his dad, Tony watching the old black and white film of his dad. Like those are the moments that Marvel should capitalize on, and I don't think they will. They'll just more explosions, more CGI, and it'll be crappy CGI too. It won't be the Pirates of the Caribbean CGI. It'll be garbage CGI. But yeah, it's very frustrating. It's they have the money, they have the what anything they want to do, and I think like I said, Thunderbolts really worried me because it did well and it was received well. And Kevin Feige like came on with a big smile onto the stage at Comic Con or wherever I saw him on YouTube, and he was like, you see, we did it. We're back. Thunderbolts. I don't see Thunderbolts as we're back. I know a lot of people love it, and I don't hate them for it. I respect their opinion. Like I said, I went for Sentry, and as soon as I saw that cast, I didn't really know anything about these guys because I don't watch Disney Plus. But as soon as I saw that cast, I was like, oh my God. Like, or as soon as I saw him on the screen, and um, yeah, I knew like this wasn't going to be a film for me. And then, like I said, you take the strongest character in the world, and you can't let him do anything because you have to nerf him because he'll kill everyone on screen. Instead of letting him loose against the Hulk or letting him loose against, I don't even know, the Avengers, bring back like Thor, bring back anyone that has some kind like Shang-Chi can use his mystical, I don't care, but like Spider-Man could have a quick cameo and get thrown by the Sentry.
Yeah.
But instead, we got the biggest rejects. And like I said, he tossed everyone because if he did anything else, they'd be dead. And Kevin Feige missed that. He missed it. I know because he came on stage and he was praising the film as like, we're back, but we're not back. Those are B tier characters, C tier characters. I just think that film looked great compared to the garbage that's been coming out. I'm really worried we're going to get more of that. And you said Doomsday is rushed. I know it's rushed. Again, we're jumping to the end. That is the last big event, like I said in the comics. Beyond that, the comics don't have anything they can pull from.
Yeah. I
So I
also
know I know why they're rushing it. They want to do the big reset, and they want like, then we have everyone together.
yeah.
Um, like we can finally have Fantastic Four talking to X-Men. But again, like, are we gonna have like A-list celebrities in these groups? Because if you have A-list X-Men, they're gonna sign on for like a three-picture deal, and you're gonna have to pay them like $1 trillion.
Yeah, it's gonna
And
it's gonna be crazy, and it's a lot, and it's a dangerous road, and all the points that you made are points well taken of where they're at and what they're doing and why they're not following again their own model, following the comics, making a villain be a villain and stop trying to make everybody a hero or an anti-hero because some of them are anti-heroes. Daredevil, anti-hero. You look at Punisher, anti-hero. Venom, anti-hero. But Green Goblin, no, just a bad guy. So, it's interesting to see, I mean, why they have such a plethora of stories to tell. And here's the thing that I don't like either. I mean, even rushing Doom on screen at the end of Fantastic Four First Steps, Franklin Richards, the first child of Reed and Sue, aka Mr. Fantastic and the Invisible Woman, like we just see him touching the face of a cloaked Doctor Doom, and we don't see Doctor Doom's face, and they're like, just so you know, that wasn't a stand-in, that was actually Robert Downey Jr. looking at Franklin. Why would you have Robert Downey Jr. be on set for a post-credit scene where
where
you
you
don't
don't even
see his
touch it.
face?
How much did he make for that scene?
Because he made $1 million per minute when he was in Spider-Man. Was it Spider-Man Far From Home? He made $1 million
I didn't
per
even know that.
a million. He
That's
made a million. I think it was either that or no, it was Homecoming. He made $1 million per minute. He made $10 million for being there. So that was years ago. You have him come into a post-credit scene. You don't see his face. I mean, you could have paid somebody to put the cloak on and look at Franklin for the
I
20
guess they will.
seconds.
They probably will show it. I now that I think about it, there's no way if they're paying him that kind of money, there's no way
But
they.
to me, it's so stupid to have him on set because it was such an easy. It's like just unless they're gonna unless they're gonna go to that scene.
No, they. That's what I
Yeah,
think they'll do.
like that they'll go to that scene and then we'll
They will
see a
cut right to that
continuation
scene.
of it. We'll like
Yeah,
come around. We'll see his face. He turns. Sue approaches him, and then we see the interaction between him and
yeah.
Sue and
That's. I think that's
Franklin.
what they're gonna do.
Yeah, I mean, because it's just crazy how this looks right now. But again, we didn't have Doctor Doom. We didn't have the Fantastic Four. Now the Fantastic Four came in for one movie, already fought Galactus, which they didn't need to do. They basically show them fighting all the smaller villains by having Mole Man in the movie, by having these different characters show up or having like flashbacks to when they defeated this. And they basically talked about it in the intro for the TV show where they're like, we saw them defeat the likes of this and the likes of that and the likes of this. And some of them weren't even on screen, like Red Ghost and whatnot. They just talked about these characters. And so it was like, we're not even going to show you all the fights they had with the little villains. We're going to go right to Galactus, which to me, that's rushed. But they go right to Galactus. And then after
Yeah,
going to Galactus, and by the way, Sue beats Galactus by herself.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. I
then,
don't.
and
Yeah,
then
Fantastic Four had a lot of issues, and
after
that was
that happens, now we have Doom, and we're going from Doom to Doomsday to Secret Wars when Doom could literally be the big bad who's now sitting in his own floating chair for the next 10 years, but they don't want to do that. I mean, this would be the equivalent of having Iron Man in 2008 have a post-credit scene of Thanos in the chair, and then within 2 years have Iron Man team up with a bunch of people we don't know to fight Thanos in one movie within like 2 years. It's like we meet Iron Man, we get introduced to the MCU, then Thanos comes, then we fight Thanos like this. There's no backstory, there's no development, there's no Thanos' daughters are Gamora and Nebula, they're adopted. There's no connection to Rodin. There's no, I mean, all of the things that would have made that made Marvel what it was that Thanos was pulling the strings. He was basically utilizing all these Pinocchios all over the universe in the background. He was using the Shatari. He was using all of these pieces, and then we see him. They're
yeah,
not doing that with Doom. They're doing, here's the Fantastic Four, here's Doom cloaked. You're going to see him next year. You saw the back of his head in a cloak, and then a year later, you're going to have this multiversal threat, Doctor Doom. Without him even, there's not even a movie of just him fighting the
well,
Fantastic Four.
that's the issue is
Like,
he
and he should
is
be fighting the Fantastic Four before Galactus. It
correct.
shouldn't be
He's
Galactus
ruined
first.
now though because
Yeah,
we're gonna get the strongest version of him of all time.
right,
After that, where do you go from there?
right.
Nobody will ever watch another. We've already used Galactus. Now we're about to use the strongest
Like,
version
why
of
do we
Doom.
have to watch the Fantastic Four? If Doom's
We
going to
don't.
fight the entire multiverse, if
After
Doom's going to
Secret
fight
Wars,
the X-Men, why do we care if he fights the Fantastic Four by themselves?
after Secret Wars, we don't because regular Doom is pretty unremarkable compared to God Doom, God Emperor Doom. Like you go from having God powers, you go from being able to like, essentially being way stronger than even the Infinity Gauntlet holder, to being like a guy covered in armor. And
Yeah.
we'll see the Fantastic Four fight him in the future when he has no power. Like nobody will care because we just skipped to the best version of him. And are we going to even get the storyline that leads up to that? That cool, the Ivory Kings, the 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 alternate universe Strange who or whoever who has to literally he summons a Mephisto and he says I'll sell 100% of my I think it was Strange 100% of my soul for 100% power, and he does, and he uses that power to fight off I don't know if it was the Beyonders or whoever, but Like you have the I forget the other cults that were involved. Like you have all this lead up, and the incursions were their own thing. The Illuminati had to get together. The Illuminati again, Namor, Professor X,
Yeah.
Black Panther, Mr. Fantastic. These are characters other than Black Panther.
And Black Bolt too.
Black Bolt, yeah. Other than Black Bolt and Black Panther, these are characters that I could care less about. Professor X is cool
Yeah.
in terms of like his powers and stuff, but like no, like nobody cares really about Professor X. Mr. Fantastic without the four is probably the most boring character. And then you have like Namor who's cool and stuff, but like these characters are cool because they're in something called the Illuminati. They're some of the most brilliant minds in all of Marvel, and they're trying to figure out how to stop Earth from colliding with Earths. And like everyone is trying to figure that out in their universe. You have Hyperion, who literally uses his full strength to punch away a planet. You have 616 use the Infinity Gauntlet to destroy a planet so that their universe doesn't get taken out. You like these are things we're gonna miss. We're not gonna see that Illuminati talking about that and doing that. We're not gonna see Hyperion at all.
Yeah.
We're not gonna get the Eternals, and we still haven't gotten any of the um, cosmic entities. Like we have Galactus, and we have some of the Celestials, but we have like
Yeah.
these are things
And we
that
and
should.
we got to see Eternity for a second.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Who
Eternity makes like
who
a
brought love to life, but in the comics, love, the embodiment of love and the
love
embodiment
is its
of
own.
eternity are different. And here's the
Yeah.
question: does eternity not exist anymore?
I, I mean, look, I one of the coolest things from the Infinity War was them fighting
Right.
Thanos. Thanos wiped everyone out,
Yeah.
and then he fought the gods. So all the Norse gods, all the Egyptian gods, all the Greek gods, wiped them all out. Then he went on to fight the top tier, the Celestials and the cosmic entities, and he beat them all too. Eternity, infinity, hate, love, the
Yeah. And
not
remember,
the
he did this all because he fell in love with death, and we never
Yep.
got to see Thanos with the human embodiment of death. We saw death in the Agatha All Along series with Agatha Harkness
Oh, I
from
didn't know
Wanda.
that because obviously I'm definitely not watching that.
Yeah.
I didn't know. See, and that right there is the issue. She should have been in the films.
Yeah.
She wasn't. They decided not to put her in.
She
Okay.
showed up in a backyard with leaves at the end of Agatha All Along.
Yeah, I'm not watching that. And I heard about Wiccan, and yeah, I'm not. I'm never seen that. But yeah, and then Mephisto gets that like cameo in Ironheart.
Hey,
and
he
it's
was eating
like,
pizza at a restaurant. Come on now.
yeah, it's just like, man, you don't care. You don't care. But
Like the whole point in the comic books of Thanos starting the Infinity Saga is that he wanted to please death.
yeah,
And that
yeah.
and death had no connection to Thanos in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Now
And
apparently she's
Deadpool
in
is
the
in love with
backyard.
death too. And Deadpool has no connection to death in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
But she's in a backyard in Agatha
But she's in
season
the
one.
backyard talking to Agatha about their potential sexual relationship that they used to have.
Oh, God, yeah. Anyway, like, yeah, that I, it's
You didn't want to see her in a bunch of leaves in just like an autumn
no,
setting?
I watched it.
Would it help if they went apple picking together?
I watched the full trailer for Agatha because I wanted to see how lame it would be. Just the season that I'll never watch, and I got everything I needed from the trailer. But
It was kind of
again,
like The Wizard of Oz, but it was going to a house full of witches.
we're not even going B tier when we're talking Agatha. We're not even going C tier. C tier would be like Iron Fist.
Okay.
Like she's D tier. I don't even know if like I remember seeing some of the comments because I love watching the hate train on crappy content, and it was just like who asked for, like the comments were just like who asked for this? What are we doing? Like this is a side character of a side character. Like Wanda isn't a side character, but like it was her spinoff, and then
Hmm.
you have the villain kind of the spinoff.
Yeah.
We're just getting like, yeah, it's just you got to pick and choose what you're pouring your money into and what.
And Wanda wasn't even
So,
in it.
like I said,
Wasn't even part
connecting
of
the
it.
shows to the films, people are just not watching the shows
Yeah.
and watching you just have to keep track of too much stuff. When it was just the films, I showed up to the theater and watched every film from Iron Man to Captain America, from Iron Man to Endgame. I watched every single film
Yeah.
in
I think
theaters,
at that
and
point it was like 23 films or something like that.
yeah, and towards the end when they started ramping up production a little bit more, it was like two Marvel movies a year. I wanted eight because they were so good.
Yeah.
But two is whatever. You show up 6 months later, you show up again. I can't do the. I'm watching too. The content on HBO is too good.
Yeah.
Apple TV has the foundation. There's too much other stuff. I'd rather just watch that. And but they Marvel has been making so many mistakes that it was bound to backfire,
Yeah.
and it did in a very unique way. James Gunn is now heading what
Yeah.
looks like a promising future for DC.
All you had to do was fire him because of something that somebody took a picture of on social media from long before, and then have the cast of the Guardians of the Galaxy say, you can make this movie, but if James Gunn isn't directing it, we're not doing it. So then what, 2, 3 years of back and forth, you bring him in, you say, can you make the movie? He goes, yeah, when I'm done making the new Suicide Squad movie, which is called The Suicide Squad. So you give him a taste of DC, you disrespect him, he comes back and makes the movie, and after he makes that movie, he goes to DC with Peter Safran and takes over DC, has the DC studios now, has the true DCU. The worst thing they could have done in Marvel is what they did. Take one of your greatest assets, James Gunn,
Mhm.
disrespect him, let him go do his thing over at DC, think, I don't need to just make one movie. This seems wide open. Kind of like the Sony Spider Verse. Nobody has control of what's going on, nobody has a plan. So, what if I come in here with a good idea and I work with Peter Safran and we go do our thing and here it is? So, I would tell y'all, they say hell hath no fury. Well, I would say that not a woman scorn. I would say Marvel at this point knows no fury, but you will know of a fury with James Gunn scorned. And I've said this repeatedly. I think that James Gunn going to the DCU, which Disney made happen by it, and I'm not wishing bad on anybody. I want to be clear about that. Just doing a play on words with the hell hath no fury. But I want to be clear on this. The worst thing that Disney could have done is what they did to James Gunn. And this did not bite him in the butt one time. James Gunn is now building a connected universe in the DCU. If there is a cartoon show, a TV show, or a movie, if it's live action, character generated, or animation, whatever it is, it's all connected. So when you have David Harbour voice Frankenstein in the Creature Commandos, if the Creature Commandos go to the big screen and there's a Frankenstein's monster on the big screen, it's going to be played by David Harbour. Every person, because you think about it, Rick Flag Sr. was in Creature Commandos. Rick Flag Sr. was voiced by the actor who is now in the new season of Peacemaker in the DCU. So whoever it is in a cartoon, live action, TV show, or big screen movie, everything is connected. You will have your Flash, not 12 of them. You will have your Batman. And if there's anything being told somewhere, this is what James Gunn did to take care of all that stuff. Yeah, there's Jokers. Joaquin Phoenix's Joker and Jared Leto's Joker, though they're in the Elseworlds, which already exists in DC Comics. You know who else is in the Elseworld? Robert Pattinson's Batman. He's there. So Batman Beyond is going to show the Batman of the DCU, but this other one, he's not there. Okay? They have now put ourselves in a situation where James Gunn, and we could do a whole other show about this. I have said it over and over again. Disney, you fumbled that situation. You punished a man who I don't even know what the heck he did wrong.
It was a pedophile joke he made like a
right,
million years ago.
right,
It was
and
literally
because
a
people
joke.
can't joke anymore. And at the end of the day, you let him have a taste. You let him have the scent of an appetizer. And now he's having 7-course meals at DCU. And I'm telling you this right now. James Gunn has a plan to a place that had no plan. So it's not going to be worse. I think it can only get better. And I honestly think James Gunn is going to turn DC Studios into something that will fight Marvel, because Marvel forgot how to be itself. And James Gunn knows the Marvel Cinematic Universe blueprint. So he goes over to the DCU. Marvel's forgotten how to be Marvel. DCU had no leadership. Now you got leadership from a guy who was successful on the inside, who gave us the Guardians of the Galaxy. And how many people said, a talking raccoon and a talking tree? No one's going to buy this. Now they have one of the biggest rides in the entire world at Epcot and Walt Disney World with Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, that I will go just to Epcot to ride that ride and leave. So it's crazy. But I do want to get, because we did all of this conversation to get to where we are right now. We basically built all of our own tree in the multiverse and all of these branches to get to the main conversation of Avengers Doomsday. I'm going to read you off who is supposed to be in this movie. We've seen the chairs. There's supposed to be more. Robert Downey Jr. playing Victor Von Doom, a.k.a. Dr. Doom. Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic. Chris Hemsworth as Thor. Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm, the Invisible Woman. Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson, the new Captain America. Sebastian Stan as Bucky Barnes, Winter Soldier. Eben Moss-Bachrach as Ben Grimm, The Thing. Simi Liu as Shang-Chi. Florence Pugh as Yelena Belova, who's the new Black Widow. Louis Pullman as Bob Reynolds, the Sentry. Winston Duke as M'Baku. Tom Hiddleston as Loki. Patrick Stewart as Professor Charles Xavier, a.k.a. Professor X, the leader of the X-Men, and the one who founded the Xavier Institute for Gifted Youngsters. And then we have Rebecca Romaine as Raven Darkholme, a.k.a. Mystique. Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm, the Human Torch. Paul Rudd as Scott Lang, Ant-Man. Channing Tatum as Remy LeBeau, Gambit. Wyatt Russell as John Walker, U.S. agent and the former Captain America for like a day, or as Florence Pugh said, for like 2 seconds. Ian McKellen as Eric Lensher, Magneto. James Marsden as Scott Summers, Cyclops. David Harbour as Alexei Shashkatov. Oh my goodness, it's so hard to say. So Alexei Shashkatov, Red Guardian. Not an easy one to say. Alan Cumming as Kurt Wagner, Nightcrawler. Hannah John Kamen as Ava Starr, Ghost. Kelsey Grammer as Hank McCoy, Beast. We have Danny Ramirez as Joaquin Torres, the new Falcon. Letitia Wright, Shuri, the new Black Panther. And Tenek Huerta as Namor. So that's the cast so far. Nico, your thoughts on... They're going to have to make $3 billion to like break even on this movie.
Again, they wouldn't need to if they didn't have Robert Downey Jr. taking up $70 million. But what worries me, just based on what you said, is that doesn't even sound that impressive. Like, I actually thought there was going to be way more. I haven't heard, maybe I'm wrong, but I haven't heard one name from the new X-Men. They should be there. Like, maybe you don't need double Mystiques and double, I don't know, but like you need some of those new characters, like that you don't have from the older X-Men generation, to fill in the gap. I don't see.
Right.
I think characters that you don't know anything about, that have never had real screen time, at least in the MCU, should also be involved. I think Knight Rider should be there. I think.
You think Ghost Rider for that?
Ghost Rider. So,
I think we're going to see Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah,
I think we're going to see Wolverine, Hugh Jackman in this movie as well.
I want to see Wolverine. Deadpool. I don't know if I'm burnt out on Deadpool or just Ryan Reynolds, but I would like to see him in a more serious. I know he's gonna joke because that's what he does, but like to see him taken out in a more serious way or something, like just killed off quick. I don't know, but
well, we do know from the Deadpool and Wolverine movie, aka Deadpool 3, that there is a scene with the TVA of the future of Thor holding a Deadpool who looks like he's dying, and Deadpool can't die, but it looks like in this case he is, and his mask is actually cut in half, which is very similar to the Tobey Maguire Peter Parker Spider-Man who was on the verge of being killed by the Green Goblin in Spider-Man 1. So we know that Deadpool's costume and Spider-Man's costume look very similar in the face, and both obviously red. And so the question becomes, Deadpool being in this, obviously in Secret Wars, I would imagine we're going to see him here. But in Doomsday, we already know the X-Men are going to be in it. We know the Fantastic Four are going to be in it. And we know that a bunch of the characters that we have already seen in the MCU and some Avengers are going to be in it. The new Avengers, Thunderbolts, are going to be in, as well as the Avengers. They said that Anthony Mackie has gone to court and has filed a lawsuit that he has the right to use the Avengers and that the new Avengers don't. So then Alexei makes Avengers stuff that looks like NASCAR gear with Avengers with a Z. So, we don't know what this is going to look like, but it's definitely going to be interesting. And Kurt Wagner, the Nightcrawler played by Alan Cumming, he's already stated that he is in a fight scene with Pedro Pascal's Reed Richards, aka Mr. Fantastic. So the X-Men will be fighting the Fantastic Four within Doomsday. The big question becomes, what is Doomsday? What starts Doomsday? And is this going to be told from the perspective of Victor Von Doom? Are we going to meet him and kind of almost see the world through his eyes and go through everything that brings this chain reaction that essentially creates Secret Wars? Are we going to go with him through all this stuff to go to Loki, to defeat Loki or get Loki out of his chair so the multiverse is now run amok? Because something's going to happen with Loki, and that's another thing, because they say, well, the Doomsday logo is silver and green. Victor Von Doom's face, silver mask, and green cloak, but also Loki is green. So will we see this movie, at least in the beginning, and for the majority of that, set up through the eyes of Victor Von Doom to make us think, again, to Nico's point, that he's the hero of the story because he thinks he is, and as he goes through this, and then eventually gets to Franklin Richards when whatever he tries to do maybe fails, the multiverse is run amok, all these incursions are happening, so he goes to Franklin Richards because in the comics, Franklin Richards cannot just create an Earth, a planet, or a multiverse, or a unit. Think about this. Franklin Richards, you talk about bringing something to life, taking something back that's dead. We already saw him do that with his mom, Sue Storm, bringing her back from the dead in the Fantastic Four First Steps. He can bring someone back to life. He can create a planet. He can create a solar system. He can create a universe. He can create a multiverse. In the comics, he can create multiverses. There's basically nothing that Franklin Richards can't create. So will we see this whole Doomsday movie through the eyes of Victor Von Doom and then end up in that room, in that post-credit scene with Sue, and the fact that he goes to get Franklin because Franklin is his last-ditch effort to create this battle world, and Franklin's going to help him essentially take the best of all these planets and universes and multiverses and bring it together. Is Franklin his weapon to save the multiverse, essentially? So then in his story, is he the victor? In his story, is he truly not only Victor Von Doom, but is he the victor? Is he the hero in his own story? Because you know that Victor doesn't think he's doing anything wrong when he creates Battleworld and essentially tries to take the place of the actual God to play God in this.
The Infinity War saga skipped over a lot. They completely missed Adam Warlock and the Magus or whatever it's called, and the Infinity Gauntlet and Living Tribunal coming in. They completely missed.
You didn't like Adam Warlock being stupid?
I didn't watch it.
Oh, you didn't see it?
I didn't watch whatever that was.
You didn't see Adam Warlock being one of the most powerful beings that has a split personality like Sentry, wields a gauntlet, wields the Infinity Gauntlet, and is a huge part of this Infinity War saga, and is the good guy but also the bad guy at the same time. He was turned into a teenager that's, I would say he's probably like 18, 19, maybe 20 years old. And he, like Thor, is a bimbo in the movie.
Yeah, yeah. I don't even know what movie that was,
Guardians of the
but
Galaxy 3,
okay, yeah. Let's see. I haven't seen it.
which is not a
I
bad
know-
movie, but Adam Warlock,
Yeah,
they basically said he came out of the cocoon too quick, and he's essentially a grown. He has all these powers, and he looks like a grown-bodied person, but he has
yeah.
the intelligence of like a toddler.
Nice. Well, that makes sense for that era of Marvel. I mean, look, having a fight scene with him and Sentry would be cool. I, you know, again, the names that you've said, if they think that's enough, it's not. It's not even close. Again, I'd like to see Nicolas Cage's Ghost Rider, or yeah, um, I would like to see more X-Men characters, like even from Days of Future Past film, like the ones that we only saw in that movie. I think
Bring
you
back
have to,
Iceman. Iceman is one of the
yeah,
strongest.
you got to have Iceman,
But
Pyro,
think about
and a
it.
more
Like I didn't know
powerful.
this, Nico. You know I love Iceman, and it's one of my nicknames that I was given in college. Iceman, well, actually before college, and when the second movie came out, X2, X Men United. Iceman is one of the most powerful mutants ever created. Like he doesn't even, I think, fully understand how powerful he can be. He can grow himself like beyond the Hulk, just made completely of ice. There's all these things that he can do. He is a massive, massive, powerful being that most people think is just like, you know, you put him on top of a grill and he'll just,
No,
turn
he's an
into
Omega.
water. But Iceman is actually one of the most powerful mutants out there. They say Magneto's up here and they have Phoenix up here, but Iceman is like he's the real deal, and they've never tapped into that. The only thing that they did with Fox is they finally had him turn into complete ice and headbutt Pyro.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, he was useless in Days of Future Past. No, he's that Omega level threat came later in the comics. I know what you mean. The Sue or not Sue, Storm is also an Omega level threat now. First, like before, where she could just shoot a lightning at you and it was completely useless.
Yeah.
If you the new Storm in the comics can do so much that she is an Omega level threat. Again, we've seen Cyclops' brother, but you could bring in the Imperial, you could bring in the guard, like the
Give me a live action morph so that Wolverine has a best friend
yeah,
that doesn't get trampled by a sentinel in a
you could
in a TV show.
you could bring in the Shi'ar Empire, you could bring in Gladiator, you could there's so much that I know we're not going to see. They're going to try to expand that out in other films,
Could
but
we see an apocalypse that isn't a drag queen?
yeah, no, that would be yeah, this is what I mean. Like we could see I feel like they're all those names you mentioned are pretty much heroes, including Magneto and stuff. He
Yeah.
just became a hero, and they're gonna have him as a hero, and he's not a villain. Like, but I haven't heard any Spider-Man characters, like, which means they didn't get
Yeah.
the rights to Venom or anybody, or like Spider-Man has to be in it. It would be the biggest joke if they didn't. I'm sure Sony allowed him to do the two-picture deal.
Well, and what about the extreme power of Emma Frost?
Oh
Right? I
yeah,
mean,
well
if you had
she won't be in
if
there.
you had
Like
Emma
this,
Frost in it, and it's no offense to Oscar Isaac who played Apocalypse, it was an offensive storytelling. And again, in
oh
one
no, it's
movie,
garbage.
it was like no one knows who Apocalypse is. Now you know who he is. It was like no one knows who he is. He was awoken. He put a team together, and the movie's over. And
Yeah,
again, how easily was he defeated? Like Apocalypse is like Thanos. You take X-Men movies for 10 years and you put Apocalypse in the background. And by the way, we only saw Apocalypse grow at the end. Oh, no, really, he grew when he was inside of the mind of Professor
yeah,
X and they were like fighting each other, and he gets really big in the house and he looks down at Professor X. But I mean, Oscar Isaac, fantastic actor. X-Men Apocalypse, one of the worst movies that I've ever seen in my life. And Dark
yeah,
Phoenix was even worse, which is so sad because again, they rushed it. They rebooted X-Men with 20th Century Fox. They did X-Men First Class, which how do you call a movie the First Class and then not even use the characters in the comic books that were the First Class? The First
yeah,
Class was Iceman, Beast before he turned blue,
Yeah.
Jean Grey, who is Marvel Girl, Cyclops, and Angel before he turned into Archangel. They didn't use that team. They had Havoc, who is the younger brother of Cyclops. So you have a first class movie without the actual first class. No sense. And
Yeah.
then you have this Emma Frost thing, you have all that stuff going on. And then you jump right to Apocalypse and you jump to Dark Phoenix. And they tried to do all of these massive universal, multiversal threats. Just boom, 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 boom. And none of them worked because there was no storytelling, there was no backstory, and it made no sense. And they went against the comic books from the jump because the X-Men First Class was not even the first class, which I'm like, why don't more people talk about that? Because I haven't heard a lot of people talk about it. But it was so frustrating. Now you have a chance to make it. But think about it. Now that all of this comes together, your big bad for the Marvel Cinematic Universe can now include Apocalypse, Doom,
We won't have Apocalypse.
Galactus.
I
I
don't
mean,
even think we'll have
you
Galactus.
can now make. I mean, you utilize Thanos, and now they're talking about bringing Thanos back as King Thanos. That's from a different multiverse. And now I'm sitting here saying, so you're instead of creating a new villain and building them up over time like you did with Thanos, you're just going to bring a more powerful Thanos in that didn't get defeated. And I mean, it doesn't make sense to me that Apocalypse doesn't have to be an X-Men villain; he could be an everybody villain. Doom doesn't have to be a Fantastic Four villain; he can be an everybody villain. There's so much to be. The Sinister Six can be in every a team that goes up against the Avengers when Spider-Man comes to them and says, I can't fight these guys by myself. It just doesn't make logical sense
It, like you
to be
said,
doing what they're doing right
ultimately,
now. And here we are rushing into Doomsday.
yeah, well,
We're going
that's
to have
why.
5 million people on the screen. And with all due respect, Doomsday, with all those people, it should either be cut into 2 movies, not Doomsday and Secret
I
Wars.
mean, that
Like,
won't even help it though,
it won't even
because
handle, like, even if you made Doomsday a 4-hour movie, there's no way in hell that you can, between now and the end of next year, have so much backstory and layering of screenwriting and plot and conversations between characters. There's not enough time between this year and next year. At the point we're in right now, there is not enough time within a year and a little bit of change to go from, we just did Miss Marvel, we just saw a weird CGI of Hulk's son, we just saw She-Hulk twerking, and we saw the Marvels movie not even let us know that Ronan, I mean, obviously that would have made more sense if the villain was Ronan's daughter. Like, there are so many things going on, and most of it makes no sense. It's all disjointed, and amidst all of these things going on, you're going to put Doom into this world. You're going to put 5 billion characters on the screen in Doomsday, and then you're going to up the ante in Secret Wars. How are you supposed to tell a Doomsday story when,
we're not gonna
I
get
mean,
we're not gonna get
honestly,
a
Avengers Doomsday should come out 5 years from now.
we're not getting a story. And again,
That's the thing, is
the
like they've
people,
gone away from
the,
screenwriting, they've gone away from storytelling, and they've just
there
gone
wasn't
to, if we can throw enough people at you, you'll just want to come see it.
this event was not just called. It was not just Battle World. It was not just Secret Wars.
Right. Do you know how
This,
confusing Battle World is? Like, there's a map inside of the
yeah, no,
comics.
it's a whole planet of like, bro, yeah, but that was a small part of. That was the payoff. That was the ending of a very long saga that started with the incursions. Like, again, we had a slow build.
Right.
They did it right in the comics with the Illuminati and how do we stop these planets from colliding? Why are they colliding? To we got some answers and got even more questions. We again the Ivory Kings. We had no idea who they were. Eventually, we learned they're Beyonders. We saw people getting absolutely destroyed left and right by the Beyonders when they finally made their first real appearance in the comics. We for the first time ever we saw what would happen if someone fought the Living Tribunal and one shot at him. Like the power was insane. Like I remember seeing the Living Tribunal dead on the ground and I was like, no way. he with a snap of his fingers he made the gauntlet disappear. Who are these guys? And I had to read the whole story because the Beyonders were that cool.
Yeah.
And then I realized that they somehow tied it into the original Beyonder from the 70s or the 80s. Like that was a baby Beyonder. And these are the his family, or these are where he comes from. There's many of him. There's all these Beyonders. And like they tied into the original Battle World. And when I heard of Battle World and Secret Wars, I thought they were going to do the original one. The original one is, I think, a similar story, but very different as well. It ties in more to the Beyonder, like the 80s looking Beyonder with black hair, like something like that. And I thought that's where they were headed with this, but no, they're doing the new Secret Wars. Again, we have none of the dedicated films to the incursions. Thunderbolts alluded to it a little bit. I think other shows and other things have alluded to the incursions, but or the planets colliding, but like it's just not. We're not seeing enough screen time of it again. And there's a lot of moments that are we're never gonna see. One of the most famous lines from the comics that's covered by many YouTube channels is Hyperion and Thor teaming up with the guy with the galactic bands or something. I forget his name, but something universe who has like the power literally of the universe in his hands, and he uses all that power to kill like one Beyonder, I think, and then he dies. And then the other people in this mega group, it's like essentially it's like the Avengers times 10. It's some of the most powerful beings in all of the universe teaming up together. I just know Thor and Hyperion are part of the team, but everyone's dead. And you just see like Hyperion and Thor, they're still alive. I think all of them together defeated that one Beyonder. Thor's missing an eye, or he's really badly wounded, or I think he's missing an arm. Hyperion is like messed up, and then a portal opens, and you just see like a dozen Beyonders fly out after they've given everything they had with their mega super team, and then they give like this crazy line, this awesome line, this badass line, and they're just like to war or to Valhalla or whatever they said, and that you just see like them go off into the on the last page of the comic book, off to their certain death. Like they have no chance of they barely beat one Beyonder with that guy who has the whole universe in his hands or whatever. And it's just like we're never gonna get those moments. We're never gonna get, like I said, that moment where Doctor Strange, I don't know if it's 616 Strange or someone else, but he calls upon Mephisto because his whole team is about to die and he's like, I will sell 100% of my soul for 100% power. He takes that and he keeps them alive somehow. Actually, I think it's a fight between, they go in an alternate universe and they're fighting what Marvel, I think Marvel did a spoof on like the DC's whatever their group. I'm blanking on the name. I don't even know. Justice League.
Yeah.
They did like a Justice League and Marvel.
Well, just so you
And
know,
they,
there's a Justice League, there's a Justice Gang.
yeah,
There's
yeah,
a
no,
lot of
the,
there's a lot
yeah,
of Justice.
they had like a Wonder Woman, a Martian Manhunter, a Superman. They had all these characters in this alternate universe during the incursions.
Yeah.
And Strange comes with the Avengers, and they run into each other, and I think they all start fighting. If I'm remembering correctly, it's been a while, but he calls upon Mephisto. He gets 100% demon power, and he just like he uses it to kill all of the Justice League. Essentially, we're never going to see that, and that is insane to me. We're never going to see when Doctor or whoever shoots Doctor Doom back into the dinosaur age, and he turns his heart into stone. These little moments that all are all leading and all building to the final Secret Wars battle world. We're gonna skip all that. We're gonna jump right into, and this is why it feels rushed. This is why I'm afraid of it, because they did the cameo so poorly. Deadpool 3 felt rushed in some ways.
Yeah.
Again, seeing Elektra make that comment about her ex Ben Affleck, seeing Blade come on and give that cool line about how there's only one Blade,
Yeah.
seeing Gambit as Channing Tatum, like these are cool things. I rewatched the clips on YouTube because it was a great moment. But there was a lot of like, oh look, there's Toad. Oh look, there's Pyro.
Yeah.
Oh look, there's Sabretooth. There's like, remember that? Like
Yeah.
now the movie's good, right? Remember these?
Sabretooth
Now,
got killed in one swipe of Wolverine's
yeah,
claws.
in one, and the Human Torch skin was removed by that being who we'll never hear from again. That
Yeah.
crazy powerful being
Yeah,
that has
Professor
God powers.
Professor X's twin or sister that he tried to kill in the womb.
Yeah, we'll never see her again. Well, this is, we'll never see her, just like the Celestial in the water taking a bath. We'll never see. So yeah, we're just gonna, like, there's gonna be like, they're gonna get onto Battle World and they're gonna be like, where they do the corny like, oh look, who is it? Like, or they're getting defeated and then some big cameo comes in, like Professor X and the X-Men are here, the original Fantastic Four. I don't know what they're doing, but like having cameos isn't enough. Like, you didn't build up to this. You didn't, and I get it. With having this many actors, it's almost impossible. Everyone has different conflicts and scheduling. That's why a lot of and the other sad thing is a lot of these people are doing their acting. The guy who's doing Nightcrawler, the original guy, he said he did all of it on green screen. He said, I don't know who I'm acting with.
Yeah.
I was just told to do this, this, and this. They kept all the names secret. So when I finally see one of my favorite X-Men, at least from the Fox universe, his powers is legendary. Teleporting, taking out all those Secret Service in the White House. But when I see him, I see him around a bunch of other heroes, I know he's actually alone in that. And he sounded disappointed.
Yeah.
I think he thought he was going to be on screen with all these RDJ and Chris Evans, and instead he's acting alone in a broom closet with green screen. Like, that's sad to me. That's rushed to me. That tells me he's going to have a very small part. So it's going to be like, oh, it's Nightcrawler. He's here to save the day. And then he's dead.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, Cyclops is back. You know who he is. He's badass. Oh, he's dead.
Right.
It's like,
And is
Peter,
that the point? Like, to just murder everybody so
I
that they
think
can
so. I
can
think it is.
officially
Like,
have all. So like they're gonna bring all these people back, and then they're gonna basically see what people say about every character on screen, and they're gonna be like, okay, Nightcrawler came in, nobody likes him, so we don't have to find a new one. Cyclops came in, people like him, so we'll get a new Cyclops. People didn't really care too much about Storm, so we can wait on her. People really liked seeing, Magneto, so we got to get a new Magneto. Like, is the point to bring all these characters in, kill all the current actors off, and then basically just kind of put out polls with people saying which ones did you like seeing, and those are the ones we're going to go spend money on.
No, they won't even put out the poll. And to be honest, they don't even need it. Like, this is the reset. This is the reason like, I get why it's rushed. I think it's a horrible idea, but I get it's the only way you can reset everything. I think you could reset everything by just saying Richards just wanted to reset the universe.
Yeah.
You could have just had him do that and skip all this Secret Wars shit. But like, unfortunately, we're doing the Secret Wars. They think that's the only way. Like, if you introduce someone as powerful as Franklin Richards, like you said, he can create multiverses, not just universes. Just have him snap his fingers and restart the button. But he's not going to do that. Like, have Galactus beat everyone. I don't know. But he's not, or have one Beyonder come in.
Yeah.
And do the original battle.
Well,
world.
apparently you can just take one person and push Galactus into a portal.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and Reed Richards can't even stretch in that film. He's getting stretched too far.
By the way, Galactus was taking a really long time. I feel like I feel like the real Galactus from the comics would have just taken Reed, started to stretch him, and then just went like that and snapped him. I don't think I mean, look at what Scarlet Witch did. She took that, like Scarlet took that. She took that Reed and turned him into spaghetti in like a second. And then here's Galactus, this massive celestial that is just like pulling him apart slowly. And I was like, I feel like he would have just done this or splatted him and then moved on with his life.
I don't even think he has the power cosmic.
Right.
He can literally just destroy him with his energy. Again, you see what the Silver Surfer did to all of them. They had to escape her by going into light speed on a ship, and then they only got rid of her by sending her into a black hole.
Right. And she gets out of wormholes, black holes, anything.
Has a fraction of Galactus's power, and he got beat up by Sue and then pushed into a little. Yeah, Yeah, I mean, now that I think about it more, there's parts that are the family aspect of it, the Silver Surfer screen time. Like there are things I like about it, but
Yeah.
overall,
It was
yeah,
just too easy to beat Galactus and
there's a
all.
reason it's not doing as well
Right. Well,
in
you
the
got to
box
think about it.
office.
Like, if you want to beat a villain in one movie, bring in Mole Man. Don't
Yeah,
defeat Ultron in one movie. You
yeah. Oh,
defeated
and
artificial
Ultron's a
intelligence
big part
in
of
1 second. You what?
Ultron's a massive part of Secret
Right.
Wars. We'll
Well,
never
and
see.
the thing is even the story that they had for Ultron, he was too smart to do what happened. This is what I think the real Ultron would have done. Tell me if I'm wrong. Ultron. Let's take this story that was in the actual Avengers 2 Age of Ultron, but I'm gonna twist it a little bit here to actually show the power of Ultron. So Ultron creates all of these bots of himself. He puts himself all over the place, right? So this is what I think the real Ultron would do. He would grab a piece of the planet, break it off, put it up in the air so he can hurl it like a meteor toward Earth to take out all life on Earth. And in order to make sure that the Avengers can't stop him, he takes his bots and he puts them all over the planet. He puts 50 here, 50 here, 50 here, 50 here, and he separates them all over the planet. So the Avengers essentially have to break up into teams of 2 or 3 and go fight in France, fight in Rome, fight in New York City, fight in San Francisco, fight in Hong Kong. He puts them everywhere. And while the Avengers are split apart trying to keep these Ultron bots from killing innocent human beings, he goes up in the air and while they're all fighting, he hurls it at the earth. That's the Ultron because he would have outsmarted them. How does this Ultron say, I'm going to bring you all to where my plan is? I'm going to bring you all to where I'm trying to take this piece of land and I'm going to have you fight all of my robots right here, and if you defeat them right here, then you can defeat me literally right above you. I feel like the real Ultron
Defeated, and that goes back to even during the golden
right.
years of Marvel, they killed off every villain. Some should have been killed off. Nobody needs to see the Dark Elf again. Like that guy is lame as hell.
Yeah.
We never got Baron Zemo starting his own Injustice League or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Just that's DC, but it was whatever the counter to
Yeah. Like
the
the
Avengers.
Dark Avengers and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
he was supposed to be the head of this super, but instead he became a character in the Winter Soldier Falcon team up. God, yeah, which I'm never
Yeah.
watching, but
And we
I
didn't
watched
even
the
get to
first
see him with
episode.
like the Thunderbolts because he's one of the
Oh yeah,
people in the
wasn't he in
comic
the
books.
comics part of that?
Right, yeah,
I
in
don't
the
know.
comics he's in the Thunderbolts.
Yeah, so like again, just missed opportunities
Could you
with.
imagine the Red Guardian trying to make a joke to Venom and Venom
I
biting
just,
his head off? Like,
I just, I have nothing against the actor
oh,
because
I
he's
love
amazing.
David Harbour as Red Guardian.
I
I'm
love
just
him,
saying
but
it's
like
not the
I
true
don't ever want to
Thunderbolt.
see the Red Guardian again. His character sucks so hard. If we could just kill him in the first 3 seconds,
Yeah, see, I
uh,
like the Red Guardian. I just feel like the Thunderbolts. There's an actual comic book cover of the Thunderbolts, and there's like 20, 30 characters on the cover, and I'm like, they didn't use 90% of these, and they didn't use like the main ones. You didn't use Red Hulk and all this, and you have Red Hulk, so it made no sense. But we got to so many things in this edition of Superpowered Pop, brought to you inside the Parker Banner Kent and Wayne Studios. Parker Banner Kent and Wayne, PBKW for short. 21500 Catawba Ave, Suite A in Cornelius, North Carolina, just outside of Charlotte. Go and see them 7 days a week for your comic book and gaming needs. And you can find them on social media at PBKW Comics. You can also just look up Parker Banner, Kent, and Wayne. Any final note here as Nico and I did our own road to Avengers Doomsday and showed you essentially by the million bullet points we had in this show today that it's not time to do this. So, any final note?
I mean, to anyone who watches this, I don't mean to sound pessimistic, and I have this entire time. It's because I love Marvel so much, Star Wars so much. I think Disney has handled these properties horrendously. And apparently they just put out something recently about wanting new Gen Z writers that would appeal to men is what I saw on Twitter. I don't even know
I don't know what that
if
means.
that's true or not, but if that, then that tells me they're even more lost. Like Gen Z, uh, millennials, um, it doesn't matter. Like people don't want to see any more things that are like super woke. They don't. You can have a blonde, blue-eyed woman making out with a blonde, blue-eyed man. You can have men in roles that were originally for the men in Marvel, women. Like it doesn't. Like the times are different. Like Marvel has seen pre, they started in the Tropic Thunder era in 2008, and they went through the decade with everyone else. Like I get it. Like times change, people get more sensitive, but the pendulum swings.
Yeah.
People want to see,
Well, it's not working.
like
This
they
whole
don't
plan
need
didn't
to.
work. This whole
Yeah,
plan
they
to not make it a comic book movie, that it didn't work. It
if they want it, they have the people already that don't make woke crap. They literally, like, I think the Wakanda director is one of the most talented directors of our time. He just did was Sinners with Michael B. Jordan, the vampire movie. He's Ryan Coogler is one of the most talented directors we have. Um, like ask him how he does this.
yeah. Well,
Ask the Russo
James Gunn
brothers.
and Ryan Coogler, I think, were the only directors that probably told, if Disney had any notes, they probably both said, "Get out of my office," and shut the door on the way out. Because if you look at, and I know you didn't see Guardians 3, but if you look at everything that's Marvel has made since Endgame,
Yeah,
like I mean, and Spider-Man No Way Home, but that's working with Sony and Ava Pascal, or pardon me, Amy Pascal. But the work that they did there, I mean, I think that was a good movie, and I think that Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever was good, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was good, and Thunderbolts was just a movie, and that's why I think it was good. It was just a movie, and obviously we agreed that it could be better. And fighting Sentry is insane, but for that team. But I'm with you that I feel like they've completely lost their model. They've completely lost their semblance of anything. And I think James Gunn and Ryan Coogler were probably the two people that said, I'm either making this movie without you in my office, Disney executives, or I'm not making this movie. And I think that's why they were good, because let's face it, Ryan Coogler made Black Panther Wakanda Forever as a passion project to his friend Chadwick Boseman, and that was one of the greatest movies that I cried. I saw that movie I think 5 times on the big screen. I
yeah,
cried multiple times, like multiple sittings in that movie. The first time I
yeah,
saw the movie, I cried 4 times.
yeah. I
During the
cried.
movie, I cried four
First
times.
time I held back, second time I did, and third
Yeah.
time I did.
Yeah. I
And I
mean,
just let it go. I just let it. It was the first time I publicly just let myself cry like that.
yeah.
But yeah, yeah, it's very frustrating. They have the tools there. They have and again, it's very negative because I want them to do better.
Yeah.
They again, it's very frustrating because they literally have the templates there, templates
We're
from
basically wanting them to be who they used to be. It's not like they've never been this way. It's essentially saying you've defeated yourself by abandoning your own business model. We're not being negative. We're just saying go back to who we know you to be. Like go back to having fun telling these incredible stories. Go back to taking your time. Go back to building good screenplays. Go back to having good conversation between actors and actresses. Go back to telling the stories on a small scale that all start to connect on a larger scale. Go back to the build, the slow build that creates a bigger event. You went slow build to giant story, and now you're just going giant story, giant story, giant story. It's not going to work. Like, how do you go from Endgame took 10 years to Doomsday is going to take 5 seconds, and right after Doomsday, the next year is Secret Wars? Like, I don't want Doctor Doom to go from who is that guy to, oh my gosh, all these incursions happen, and now he's pulling Earths together.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't know Doctor Doom like you and I do, then there's kids that are going to go, there's people that are going to go see this movie, kids and adults, and they're going to go from who the hell is this guy to he's the most powerful being in the multiverse.
Well, even I mean, they have Fortnite characters where they can kind of like get some backstory on. So the parents are going to be completely lost.
Oh yeah.
Like the parents who used to go to a lot of these movies, and they're kind of like, oh yeah, I remember that, or they kind of had some ideas. They're gone. Like they have no idea what's going to be happening. And again, honestly, like look, if Disney, Marvel, if they want to keep doing this, like this is going to be the ult. You said Ryan Coogler, you said James Gunn, but I think the Russo brothers they're my favorite.
Yeah. Well,
Because
they're
they did
fantastic.
they did
I'm
Winter
saying
Soldier.
post Endgame,
Oh
the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
directors that I think, but
This
no, the
this is
Russo brothers, they
they're
made me
being
cry.
tested harder than
Yeah.
anyone. This is the biggest task that is being put on their backs. If they can pull this off, they're goats. They're the greatest of all time for Marvel and DC, to be honest, because they're being forced into this rushed. If they somehow pull this off, and I have faith because they've only had hits. Again, Civil War, Winter Soldier is in my top two Marvel of all time. Um, it was number one for a while. I think it pretty much still is, but Civil War was incredible. Endgame, of course, Infinity War. But they have the biggest task. They have to take crap and
Yeah.
somehow polish it into a diamond. I have no idea how they're going to pull it off.
They have to
If
take a
any,
bunch of stories that on TV and on the big screen have no connection to each other. Like, where is Miss Marvel connected to Black Panther, and how's Black Panther connected to the Eternals, and how are the Eternals connected to Spider-Man? It's just none of it makes any sense.
it's too much. I think they just need to retcon some stuff.
Yeah.
Look,
But
if
like
I
you
were
said,
them,
if they bring it, but I don't want to see them blow it all up to start over, because here's the thing: you blow it up to start over when you feel like you're not going in the right direction. Marvel's been doing so many great things, they kind of lost their way and did the opposite of who they are. Remember how DC was like, Marvel had a blueprint of success and DC was like, let's do none of that. Let's just do the total opposite. I'm not saying they should have copied anything. I'm just saying, like, Marvel was like, slow build, tell individual stories, bring characters in here and there, and then have a big story. And DC was like, let's have 19 Flashes, let's have 27 Batmen.
well, that
And
was yeah,
like,
that was the end of DC. That
right.
was the crumbling. That was the beginning
I
of
don't
the.
want Marvel to retcon and do all. I don't want them to
Well,
start all over,
well, I think
because
they
I
have.
love RDJ as I don't want to see another Iron Man. I don't want to really see another Cap. I just I want you to go forward. You have 900 plus characters in the Spider-Man universe. You have like what,
Well,
thousands of mutants
that's
that we don't even
Sony.
know about, right? But
Sony
it's
made
like,
it clear Miles Morales is off limits no
right.
matter what.
But
Like
that's the
that,
thing, is it's like you have all of this stuff that you can work with Sony on. You have all of these. You have Hulk, and Hulk has his own family, and Planet Hulk, and all of those pieces. You have the X-Men and the Brotherhood. The X-Men, thousands of characters,
well,
mutants we
unfortunately,
don't even know
we
about.
got Planet Hulk. It was that garbage Thor movie where
Right,
he was in the stadiums and then he came back.
right.
He should
But
have
it's
came
like
back with
you
anger.
have all this stuff to work with. You don't have to kill your history. You don't have to cut off your nose to spite your face and say, like, well, because we're not going to pay you these actors anymore, we're just going to get all new people and do it all over. I don't want to see another version of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I want you to go forward with new characters, tell new stories. You have the X-Men. You spent all this money to get the X-Men. Just tell a mutant saga. If you spend the next 10 years on the mutants, I'm not going to freak out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, I don't want to see them tell the stories that they already told with different people again. That's boring to me. It's lazy, and to me, it's a waste of time.
I agree. I mean, yeah, I I don't know what happens next because again, I based on his reaction to Thunderbolts, I think they're completely missing the mark. I think Thunderbolts has hurt them more because it's given them hope, and I don't think it's the right. It's just a very boring cast, and I don't know what they're gonna do. For me, I'm looking to the future of DC. I really didn't like what I saw in early stages of Superman, like in the trailers and I think James Gunn is very he's uplifting, he's cartoony, and a lot of people love that. I liked Zack Snyder's dark side more, but he has a very good hold on. Now that I've seen what I've seen, he has a very good hold on what Superman should be. That doesn't mean that should be applied to Batman and
Yeah.
like the other characters. Like it can't be cartoony and fun and lovey and cute. Like and that's Superman. That's who he is. But don't like I hope James Gunn can turn on his dark side for the other stuff. But I'm very excited for that because they hit the reset button. What started out to be a great multiverse. It was Wonder Woman 1 was fantastic. Man of Steel was amazing. Aquaman was good. They had a very good start, and then it just imploded, and they had to hit reset. And I'm glad they did. I I think Marvel is hitting reset, whether we want them to or not.
Nobody puts a baby in a microwave.
We're getting a new Iron Man, hopefully an unknown guy who doesn't need $70 million a movie. We're getting a new Captain America. Like this, I don't mean this in any way, but like hopefully it's a blue-eyed, blonde-haired white guy from the 1950s, World War II. That's just who I envision Captain America to be. And if you want to counter that with Blue Marvel, then throw him in, and he can just beat the crap out of Captain America till he's dead. I don't care, but I don't know. The reset has to happen just because they're lost.
Yeah.
You just have like so many dead ends. You have I mean, God, who knows how much they spent on Blade? They've reset it 5 times. They're lost. They need a reset.
Because there's only one Blade, and there's only ever going to be one Blade. That's
I-
Wesley Snipes, baby.
Yeah.
No offense to Mahershala Ali, but I would pay to see
he's
Wesley Snipes do it
ancient
again.
now. Like when he started this, he was going to be. But yeah, I would eventually. I hope they get to where they want to be, where X-Men character is talking to Fantastic Four character randomly, and then some fight breaks out, and you got the Avengers characters coming in, and like they're teaming together on the streets of New York. It's like it doesn't need to be a world-ending event. It doesn't need to be but they need a reset. They need to be more grounded. They need to focus more on staying on Earth again after the reset. And like I said, the loss of Spider-Man and all of its villains is very tough.
Yeah.
But they got to do their best.
Yeah. I mean, Nico and I have spent over 2 hours with you trying to tell you how you cannot make this Doomsday movie in the amount of time that we spoke because we haven't even gotten everything and it still doesn't make sense. So I love Marvel. Nico loves Marvel. We wouldn't talk about it if we don't love it. We just want to see them take some time with this stuff. It's, you worked through all those years to get to where you are today. Do it again. And then do it again. And then do it again. Don't, what do they say? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So, just keep rocking and rolling with it. And the more that they continue to blow up their own world and make no sense with it, James Gunn's going to be in DC just kind of laughing while he's putting his build in and bringing these teams together, these stories together. And, I think it's going to be good. Peacemaker has started out good. I'm crossing my fingers that Blue Beetle is going to be around because Peter Safran is the one that brought Blue Beetle to life, and he is the one that is running the DC studios with James Gunn. So I think that is high hope that we get to see Blue Beetle continue. And I'm very much hoping that for Jaime and all of that good stuff. So with that being said, Avengers Doomsday has left me with multiple new videos that I will be recording and doing because it opened up the conversation. But what I can tell you is Nico and I were on this screen for over 2.5 hours, and it didn't cost Marvel $70 million. So thank you.
Ideas are free. Reach out to us. Literally help you guys for free.
That's right.
I'll help you make money.
Yeah, listen, I will write the Spider-Man movies. Give me $1 million a movie to start, and
I have ideas for marketing and toys, and so, just please reach out to me. I will literally help you make billions if you ever see this, and I'll work for free.
Yeah, we'll have some fun with this stuff. I will not work for free, but I will work for less than $70 million. With that being said, Nico, I appreciate you. Superpowered Pop, Parker Banner, Kent Wayne. Go and see them once again and show them some love. Fantastic team led by Matt Milburn, 21500 Catawba Ave, Suite A in Cornelius, North Carolina. 7 days a week, open for you. Go enjoy what they bring to the table every single day of the week when it comes to comics and gaming. Cannot say enough great things about them. For now, remember that your true hero lies within. Nico, it's been my pleasure. I'll talk with you soon.
Thank you.